don't know where I'm gonna take it. I just let the beat tell me what it want me to say.
I got you.
And the beat never tells him to say what he said.
I'm 20 deep with this, dog. I'm getting my style. I'm getting where I'm going to.
Are you?
I am.
Oh.
So, you know what I mean? Like, it's
I
just,
ain't mad.
watch, you gonna hear some.
Do we judge it afterwards? Do we
Please.
Do we give him a EBI, even better if?
Please judge him afterwards.
Hey, you gonna be like Mission.
Hey, you gotta get him on this
Mission. I got somebody you might want to feature. No joke.
Mission said he'd be listening to this too.
Real?
He said he listened to a couple of them.
Oh,
might want to get him on too.
Shout out. Hey, I already thought about it.
Him and his wife's story?
I promise. So what?
They both get on
they
it.
got divorced and then got remarried.
Okay. Yeah.
The music must have dropped.
Hey. Okay.
Got that Snoop Dogg
Look.
feel.
I'm just chilling with my crew. And you know what we came to do? We came to talk. I got Pastor Damien and we in the church and we going to sing hallelujah. Jump back, get praise, give it back, time, your 10%. Get with it or get left out, man, you want to get it in. You know what I'm saying? I ain't playing, boy, I ain't delaying when I come through. I got me. I got digs. I got everybody with me when I'm coming through. When you see me, you be with me, and you know me.
Yeah.
Hey, I was ready to sing, but it wasn't no sing. But you know what I mean. That's just what I do, man.
That's a nice little beat though.
Just
it had a little smooth
for forever until the end of time, man. Just don't sing.
Nah, I want to sing. I came here to sing.
But do you see how he closes his eyes?
I came here to sing.
He zones out for a second.
I came here to sing. And I came here to deliver, but the beat wasn't right.
You went the gospel route, and I thought Jesus was with you for a minute, and then he just left.
And then
he
dipped out.
Jesus was walking, and he was like, "Let me get back on the boat."
Jesus was like, "It's good, man. You got this."
All right, man. Go ahead and start it off, and then come around to me.
You want to go last, is what you're saying.
Yeah,
you gonna do better with this introduction this time?
Yeah. Welcome to Two Dudes and a Chick. This is Dr. IJ.
What's up, y'all? It's your girl, Tiffany.
It's your boy, Priest D, riding in the caddy. And you know what I ain't going to say about that. Yada. But bring it, man. Introducing, man. I had to write some things down, man, because this is a real deal when it comes to me and this dude.
Yeah.
My little cousin, man.
Hey.
Grew up in Vallejo, California. Light-skinned hitter. Growing up, he always was getting in trouble, always getting in fights, man. And then one day he flipped his life around and gave it to God. Never looked back.
True story.
Hey, look, one day I said, look, dang, let's go have some drinks. He said, nah, I don't drink. I said, oh, this dude playing. I said, let's go to the club. He said, I don't do that no more. And he was for real. And I said, God, dog, he is not playing. Man, he became a youth pastor. From there, he became an assistant pastor.
Young adult pastor. Youth, young adult.
Youth, young adult. Know what I'm saying? But now now he's a.
Shit,
come
yeah.
on, man.
Okay.
Stick with it, man. You messing up my intro. You messing up my intro. Now he's now he's a assistant pastor of Real Life Church in the Thomas, doing big things. My little cousin who used to look up to me, now I look up to him.
Hey. I still look up to
Pastor Damien Giacchino in the building.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here.
That was a much better introduction.
Man, I'm working on it, man. I'm working on
So
it.
he wrote that down. So imagine.
No, I didn't write it down. I just wrote down some.
If he wrote down his lyrics.
Hey, I've been saying that, and y'all be like, nah, just keep
Oh
coming.
no, we ain't discouraged you from
give
doing
me
that.
a beat. Give me a beat the week before.
No, I'm not. That,
See?
but you can pre-write down some lyrics and figure out how to.
What beat it goes to.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll try that next
Maybe.
week.
I don't know why we're encouraging this.
I don't know why either.
Anyway, what's up, Dame?
What's up,
Welcome
man?
to the
Man,
show.
I'm excited
Finally
to be
got
here.
you in the building.
Finally got
Just
it.
had a baby. Congratulations.
Congrats.
Thank you,
Congrats.
Thank you.
Little Dominic, how old is he now?
He will be 6 weeks on Saturday.
However, he looks like he's already 6 months.
Yeah, he
Big
came
baby.
out.
Big Papa.
He came out big.
He's so cute.
Yeah.
That's dope.
This is my highlight, man. I've been looking forward to this all day.
For real?
Yeah, I told
Appreciate you
Stace,
taking
I
the
was like, man, I
time.
feel like I'm about to be on the Breakfast Club.
Hey, we gonna get there, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? This is the beginning.
Yeah.
Hey, I just found out you was coming like 10 minutes ago.
Hey, he thought because I be saying my cousin coming through, and he thought I was talking about Vital.
Okay, yeah.
So he like, man, I have my notes ready.
It's like 100 of y'all out here.
we
have a very talented family.
Like y'all deep in these streets, so
Right.
he don't give no specifics other than like it's my cousin.
Hey,
I'm
you
like,
know why? Because I kept flip flopping between you and Vital. One week I'd be like Vital, he'd be like, yeah, I'm gonna be there, and then he'd be like, I can't make it, and then I'd be like, dang, what's up? And then he'd be like, all right, but after this, after that, so.
A busy man.
Yeah, it finally came down to you.
And I stay right down the street too.
Literally.
So it's like, it makes sense.
You know, he stay down the street.
Yes. You stay on this street, right?
nah, next street over.
Next street over. Yeah.
So you stay next street over. I stay what?
You stay
a
like
block and a half away.
a jog away.
Yeah,
you
really a
ain't
jog away.
Yeah.
You could jog, get here in 30
Especially
minutes.
for me. You see me in the gym?
Man, you look, you see I commented on your IG page. I was like,
you
you over
up
there.
my coat. You know what I'm saying?
Gosh.
I'm going to keep it covered.
I told him he was
It's
looking like
three dudes
Jax
and a
off
chicken here
Mortal
right now.
Kombat.
Don't zip your coat.
I don't want to have to do too much, man. I'm gonna keep it.
I see them arms, man. They looking
trying,
big.
man. Give me a couple more weeks and they'll be there.
Yeah.
I'm actually glad. Well, I thought you were gonna sing because you started off singing a little bit.
I tried.
Because then I thought that you were gonna be coming for that King of R&B beef that's going on, discussion, debate. Are you guys up on that right now?
What is it with Jacquees?
So Jacquees.
I don't even know who Jacquees is.
Right. That,
You know who Jacquees is?
Man, I don't.
Right. So that goes more to why this is such a big deal right now. So on social media right now, the biggest thing is who is the king of R&B? Jacquees is this dude from Miami?
Nah.
Is he from Miami?
I think he's from Atlanta.
He's from down south somewhere.
Yeah.
His voice is hella annoying. Like he sounds nasal in all of his
Jacquees
songs.
is like if I went to a vocal coach and they gave me the best what they can do
It would
with what
sound
I
exactly
got right
like
now.
him.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Is he like a good songwriter or something? Like,
He do got so you probably heard his songs, but I mean they
Probably
catchy, but it don't take much to write a catchy song.
I
And
mean, I
it'd be
feel like
good.
if you want publicity, what better way to get
Well, he definitely
Claim
has
the throne.
it.
you know what I'm
He
saying?
claimed the throne.
Than to
He
claim
claimed
the
the throne like verbatim said.
But I would also say that right now, I feel like the R&B game is kind of weak.
I was just gonna say that who even has the throne?
Let's see where you at in your R&B. Who would you give it? This gonna tell me what level you on. Where you at with R&B?
I mean, so I would assume Chris Brown would be like.
That's arguable.
So it's kind of
Chris
like
Brown
this.
like
No,
the Dark
but
Prince
it's kind of
of
like
he like Bobby Brown. to me.
no,
Yeah.
it's kind of
Okay.
like Michael Jordan.
Oh no,
right?
excuse me. The dude, man, I'm really just
Bring it, man. I got you. I got your back.
the
That's what
guy
I'm here
that did he did the Super Bowl commercial. He did the Vegas. He was in Vegas.
for. Miguel.
No, the other
Oh,
one.
Bruno Mars.
Yes,
Bruno,
yes,
hey.
yeah. I would say him.
I said Bruno Mars.
But Bruno Mars ain't really
But
R&B.
listen,
he is
my
R&B. If
question.
he ain't, then who?
Hold on, this is my question. So you know how in basketball everybody
Right.
says Michael Jordan is the greatest,
Yeah.
right? So does the same rules apply when it comes to music? It's not who's the best right now, but who is the king of R&B. Period.
Like most accomplished.
Is that how you
What-
base it on?
Well, I mean, I think based on the context of Jacquees saying he's the king, I think he's talking about like right now.
Right now,
I
he
currently.
can't be
base
talking
it
about
on.
of
I
all
base it
time.
on in my era. I can't. Well, you can go back and listen to era, but you still not gonna get that same feel. Like James Brown is dope, but I ain't gonna feel it how my dad feel
James
it. 'Cause
Brown was R&B.
James Brown,
it was soul.
yeah.
That's R&B.
Yeah,
It's just
but
soul.
I wouldn't
It was
even,
soul back.
I wouldn't
I'm
even
just,
put James Brown.
I'm
in
not.
that
I'm
category.
just giving a comparison. Like my dad can say like, who could he
Somebody
say?
else, and you
Like
would say
Marvin.
somebody else.
Yeah, like you know what I'm saying. Marvin, like he sound nice, it sound good. Yeah, I like it, but I'm not gonna feel it the same way they felt it in their generation. So I
So
think it's
then
kind of
maybe
whack
he
when people
should've
go that deep
said,
and they wasn't there.
I am the king of R&B for
My generation.
my generation.
And I give him that. Right now, where he going, you can't.
I don't
take
know.
that.
I gotta ask my kid if she know who he is. But I'm saying you can't be king of nothing if nobody know who you is.
But
You're
they
kinda
do
old,
though. You don't know who they is.
Okay, but look at
Hey,
this.
look.
But look at this.
Hey, look,
though.
hold on. Let me tell you something. I found out the weirdest thing ever yesterday.
Is this off topic, bro?
Probably.
But it's on topic. Look, I'm about to tell you how far you lost because you gonna speak from your generation. and it's gonna go left a little bit.
I already know where this is gonna go completely.
No, it's not.
left.
No, it's
I
not.
already know exactly what he's about to go.
Before you go left,
She knows, but go ahead.
before you go left, let me just say this: if let's say we said I don't want to say Michael Jackson. Let's say I said R. Kelly, right, was the king of R&B.
I agree.
Okay, but if you are OG,
You're not gonna say that.
you might not say that, but you know who R. Kelly is. Because OGs is vibing
And
with
the
R.
young
Kelly.
people today know who R.
And the
Kelly
young
is.
people today. So that's what I'm saying with Jacquees. You saying
R. Kelly.
that I'm not a part of his generation, but I'm saying like I don't
If
even
you're
know
the
who
greatest,
dude
you
is.
would have
But
to
your
be.
daughter,
Right.
your daughter is not listening to R. Kelly.
But
But
she
my
knows
daughter
who he
know
is.
who R. Kelly is.
Okay. We
That's
know who
his
Dr.
point.
J is. I get what you're saying, but it's still not part of her generation.
But I'm saying you can't be the king of nothing if you not known outside of your generation.
I agree with that.
You know what I'm saying? But anyway, go ahead. Take that
but
tangent.
speaking of generation,
Go ahead and turn left.
no, this is not turn left. Speaking of generation, though, I got something to ask both of y'all fellas. How do y'all feel about getting circumcised? Did you circumcise your son?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
You're circumcised?
I don't.
Jumbo, you circumcised?
I
No,
told
no,
you.
look, listen. This
Is
got
that
a point.
a personal question that you could just ask people?
I mean, it's asked now.
I know it is asked, and he's gonna ask, but I'm just saying,
I
please
never
don't
thought
walk
that
around
far.
See,
asking
dang,
people if they're
this your
circumcised.
cousin,
I know.
but I'm never prepared.
No,
I
I'm
told
just saying,
you.
look.
I gave you guys a
Never
warning.
prepared.
Random
Listen,
question.
listen,
I
no,
gave
listen.
you guys a warning. I mean, I know where he's going with this, but I gave you guys
Because she was
a
there. That's
warning.
what it related. Are you willing to
Okay.
know where I was going? Are you?
Yes.
Okay. So all three of us are circumcised, right?
Right.
I am too. If you had a son, you would circumcise him, right?
Yeah.
He just circumcised his son. Both of my sons are circumcised.
Just
Circumcised.
everybody's
But
business.
this generation don't circumcise, dog.
Yeah.
Son is not circumcised.
Oh, so now you're name dropping.
Oh, well, he's not. It's too late. He's not. But it's cool though. Look. I'm debating. I'm debating with his mom. Like, look, I'm kind of nervous. I don't want my, son being weird with the elephant trunk. Like, that's not cool. And I was like, I'm trying to tell her,
I'm gonna need
like,
for you to stop name dropping.
okay, I'm trying to say like let's do it.
But this generation also don't
Dude,
vaccinate.
she trying to tell me that no, it's a new wave. Like, that's old school way of thinking and blah blah blah. Dude, I googled it. We
Are the minority.
are the minority, dude. We are in the 20 percentile that got circumcised.
They said
80% of dudes are not getting
35
That's crazy.
35
and
I
under.
35 and under aren't getting it.
That.
They like, if God, it's like
I need you to go back to work, man. Yo, out of time. You're out of time. Stop being used. Hey, Jay, what they say, the idle mind is the devil's workshop.
I'm over here like, okay.
hey, no, that messed me up though. Like, I'm like,
It was a shocker for you.
it made me like, I'm damn near debating off what I know. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, dude, like, no,
You're
that's
just
not.
assuming everybody's getting circumcised.
I'm assuming because I was, my kids was, my brother
Right,
was, my
right.
dad was, and now like I'm in a generation that's fading out that ain't getting it
Right.
done.
I mean, but like I said,
To go
like,
back to what we were saying,
everybody
that's R&B.
everybody not vaccinating their kids.
I gotta tie it in. Gotta tie it in.
Nah,
We're not part of that generation.
nah, bro. Hey, that was a terrible tie-in. That did
Hella
not.
unnecessary.
That did not relate
Nah,
in
because
any way.
I could be arguing about how R. Kelly is the king of R&B to somebody that's 16 years old and was like, no, I agree that, what's his name? Jacquees is the king of R&B. It's generational, dog. They can, you ain't heard this song, you ain't heard this song, you ain't heard this song. Like, that's how it go. That ain't relatable. They don't want to give my props, dog. Like, you see how they try to do me, dog? Dang. Dang, is that relatable? Do you see where I was going with that?
I'm trying.
Yeah,
I'm trying. I'm
you.
trying.
Thank you, babe. Thank you, babe.
Okay, well, we're just gonna leave that where that is.
Yeah.
Okay, so Dane, when we have guests, we like to do this like little icebreaker thing. So I'm gonna say something, and then you respond with one word answers first.
Okay.
Come to your head.
Yeah.
All right, you ready?
Go for it.
I enjoy.
Going to church.
I want.
$1 million.
Ooh, that's a good one. Can you go turn that off?
Yeah.
I love.
Stacy.
Quick. That was good.
That was
That was good.
Yes. Hey, let her know at the 17-minute mark. Be listening in. Yeah.
I love
No
me some Stacy.
hesitation.
Yeah.
I hate.
I'm trying to think. I don't hate a lot of things. I dislike a lot. Injustice.
I feel.
Like right now, or
However you feel.
I feel relaxed,
I am.
at peace.
Favorite position.
Posture of prayer.
That was a trick question. You got to see where people's minds is at. That's dope. All right, so Dame, you Pastor Dame and everything. So how did you become pastor? Because that sure was not your beginning.
Yeah, I tell most
Definitely
people
not.
when I was like 22, 23, I thought I was going to be like a real estate agent and a club promoter. I was going to,
Club promoter.
I was doing real estate at the time and throwing the parties in Oakland.
Man, hey,
You
what,
remember
what,
those?
what was our?
You know what you sure
hey,
was.
hey, hold on, we had a business.
I forgot.
Hey,
HipRock
HipRock Entertainment.
Wow. Hey, y'all
I
sound like
forgot.
stepbrothers right
Hey,
now.
the
Man.
big parties was banging though. I
Poppin', yeah.
completely
HipRock
forgot about
Entertainment.
that.
HipRock Entertainment.
Yeah.
Hey, that's
Hey.
hecka funny.
Dame was the brains behind it. You know, I was the money man, the
Yep,
front behind it.
Wow.
Hey, you're going out there making it happen, dog.
We had a couple cool little.
Yeah, the
little-
biggest turnout was for Clyde Carson.
at the Rex, I think.
But what was, man? My mind going blank.
I don't know that was like 12 years ago too.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was just
No,
feeling some
what
of those
was-
club pictures.
I feel like what's Clyde Carson?
You feel like it.
and
You
the
are
group-
old.
The team.
The team, yeah, we threw they had a show and we had an all white party at the Rex in Oakland. That was the biggest one we threw.
Dude, that I completely forgot about that. That is so funny.
Hey, before that though, we was club promoting for Uncle
Uncle Dave.
yeah, Uncle Dave.
707
Hey,
Club.
you ever went to the 707 Club, dog?
yeah,
Man,
that was
this is our
back in
senior
two.
year.
Yeah, that was in '99.
I was a senior. He was in the 9th grade. Yeah.
I had just started messing with him. I used to get in for free because his mom was at the door.
Yeah,
We had
My
those,
friends had
we
to
had
pay
those
though.
baseball
Hey.
shirts.
But I got in.
And we threw a party, dog.
I still remember verbatim what I
that
was
one
wearing.
had over 2,000 people there that we promoted.
The police came and shut it down though, didn't they?
Nah, that was not the first one, but a couple after.
Okay.
Go ahead, Dan. Sorry, we took a little.
No,
detour.
yeah.
I
What-
just forgot about
What was the
that.
question again?
Nah, she was
How
saying
you
like
got
she
into-
was saying
yeah.
Oh.
hold on. I want to say talk about your upbringing to where you at now. I just want to
Yeah,
tell
yeah.
people your
Start from the
testimony,
beginning.
man, from the beginning as far as you can go to.
Yeah.
I know you told the story millions of times. But
No, I think it can tie into like how do I get to where I was at. I think 22, 23, I think that was when it was a pivotal change for me, but kind of going back to when I was young, grew up in a Christian household, had a loving mom, good pops, but I think it's safe to say that as I look back, I struggle with insecurities, like figuring out who I was and, not having, I think, my biological father around, just, trying to relate to what I thought a man would be, and it was times where
Is that in hindsight you noticed that, or you think you?
looking back,
So
like
looking back,
yeah,
okay.
looking back, just
So that probably was like why you acted
yeah,
out how you
Yeah,
acted
yeah.
out at certain
yeah,
times
trying to
because
prove
like looking back
prove
at
that
it.
I was
That makes
black.
sense.
I was light skinned, so
yeah.
all
Was.
my or still
Still
is
very much
Right.
are.
Right. You definitely the lightest thing
yeah.
in this room. You and me is on opposite ends.
We're reciprocals.
Hey, when I think about you, I think about like how wild you was. Number one, because I think let me ask you something. Like, how do you feel about kids kicking it with kids is not in the same age group. Cause
he was kicking it with y'all.
You were that kid.
Yeah.
That was
that with
kicking
the
it
older people.
Yeah, we are 13 and you was. Or let's
I was
say
4 years. So
you 4 years
I'm
under?
35.
I'm 30. I just turned 30.
But I was in the 9th when y'all was 12th graders or seniors.
That
you
makes
were-
a difference.
So you're
that's
4
a
years
huge
behind.
difference,
Grade
yeah.
wise, you were 4 years behind.
Yeah.
So when we was like in the 4th grade, what? 9th? 3. You're right.
I definitely think like hanging out with y'all sped up my sexual experiences with the opposite sex in terms of like being more promiscuous, and I think that
Oh, see, I was out there being some bad influences.
No, but it's not that. It's like being young kids and just having.
So you think
freedom.
you think about a 9th grader compared to hanging out with a 12th grader or 11th grader.
That's huge.
I think
big.
I just started getting into girls at 8th grade.
And that's the year, our senior year is the year that they started high school, 9th grade in
Yeah.
Vallejo.
Yeah.
So you was out there living your best life with
Yeah,
them.
so while they, my brother and, other friends I was hanging out with, they was, really going after certain things. I think it made me focus on stuff sooner than what I should have. Trying to like identify like, man, I could be cool like that. That's how I get accepted, all that different type of stuff.
It's interesting you say that because you was just saying that, when you was a kid, just going through that, like trying to figure out who you was as a man.
Yeah.
And I think far too often young men like identify their masculinity with promiscuity.
Yeah.
Like the more women I can have or get with, and
The
it's
bigger man I am.
right, and it's promoted amongst the group. You know what I mean?
Exactly. That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, because how many numbers you get, how many chicks
Exactly.
you bang,
That,
like,
that's
like
the
big
win.
enough.
That's the
Right.
defined win
Right.
of
It's,
quote unquote manhood
And now-
in that setting.
And the more you could get,
Yeah.
it was either you had to prove your manhood that way,
Yeah.
or you had to prove your manhood by being like super tough, super
Yeah,
hard,
gangster,
like
yeah.
rap. You know what I
Like a
mean?
jerk.
So, they didn't give us many routes to be able to define.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? What black masculinity
Yeah.
really is.
And then my dad, which is an amazing man, he's like a hero for me. When I was younger, I didn't view what is a strength now as a strength. So his ability to be forgiving, loving, compassionate, tenderhearted,
Right.
I thought that was weak. Growing up, I had a strong mom, and my dad, it took a compassionate man like him to handle a woman like my mom.
Yeah.
But then I saw things and I was like, man, that's weak. So I was like, I would never be that. So I went to an extreme.
Right.
And I found myself really like identifying like where there was pride creeping in from that. Like I made some inner vows, like I'll never let a woman do that. I'll never get talked to like that. So I began to have these walls, which a lot of my problems came from women. And so we'll get into that part of the story.
That's
around the corner.
Yeah, that's around the corner.
We're gonna slow play.
I'm trying to build up.
We're gonna slow play, y'all.
That's a tease for
So,
everybody out there. Yeah.
my behavior and my actions, because I was performing for validation.
Right,
Versus now that I'm a man of God, I don't have to perform for validation. I am validated, through God. Like God loves me. I could just be who I'm called to be. But growing up, even though my mom, she planted seeds of loving God and doing things the right way, I still didn't have that experience of God myself. It was more so my mom's experience,
Right.
trying to be my experience, but I'm not really seeing what you seeing.
Right. I'm just doing this
all
'cause Mom
along.
says
Yeah,
do
all
this.
along. I'm being exposed to like immediate gratification of being validated from like my peers, and I think from having those insecurities as a young person, growing into junior high and high school, I started to look to, as we said, the few outlets of what masculinity is defined as, is whether it's your economic status, your sexual conquest, or your friend status. So,
Right.
I started to approach manhood by how many women I can sleep with, my financial status, or how many popular friends I had around me who really didn't have my best interests.
Right.
So I kind of spiraled from that to like 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade. And while others like, my cousin and my brother, they knew to pull back in some areas. Like I'm kind of extreme.
Oh,
Yeah, so
I didn't want to say that, but I was thinking, dude is an extreme. It's like,
so it can work. It can work. I could be extreme for God, extreme for doing the right things, or extreme in all the wrong areas. So I really went extreme in all the wrong areas. So, I started getting caught up into like just criminal activity, stealing, robbing, just all kind of crazy stuff.
No reason.
Yeah, just for reasons of money and just whatever I felt like I need, if I can get it quick and hustle, I would do it.
Nah, I'm just thinking about like just some of the stories. Like he used to come back and be like, dude, I'll be like, what? You need to tell me how this happened and stop. Like,
don't do it again.
What did you do? Like, oh my God, this was like extreme. I'm like, dude.
Yeah,
you gotta relax. Like this ain't cool. Like I cannot promote this. Like you went too far.
It's a trip though, because nobody in the family is really like that, heavy like that. You know what I'm saying? To where you are like following somebody. Oh, well, Uncle so and so is doing this.
I see
you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like there was nobody in the
influences.
Nobody in the family was like that, promoting that. Yeah, that he just completely went like.
Yeah. And I think that I believe in generation curses. Like if fathers don't deal with issues, those issues can be passed down to their kids. So my biological father passing when I was 2 or 3, and then my mom identifying behaviors in me as a teenager that I never met my dad that she said he had. I think there's certain things that if you don't break, like I believe my son is still a virgin. That's what he told me. But I broke certain things off of my life so that he can have a better start. You know what I mean? Like I face things in my life. I conquer things in my life. So now I can
try and break
steward an environment to produce an outcome because I'm stewarding something that I have become versus something I'm trying to tell a kid to do that I haven't done myself. So in a sense, that's breaking a cycle because I broke it for myself. So now I can create an environment where, DJ, this is how you win in life. You know what I mean? So there were certain cycles that I didn't even already know, like certain ways that I was already wired. You know what I mean? That my father, who my mom married, who is my dad, who raised me, couldn't necessarily help me break because he didn't have that biological makeup like I had.
It's so trip.
That's really deep.
It's so trip, and that's the truth because Mark, his brother, he was locked up for so long, and he wasn't even raised. His kids weren't raised by him, but they are all so much alike. Yeah. And that's just so crazy because it's like you're saying, it's in you.
Yeah, it's in you.
Yeah. I believe people are anointed to raise their own kids. Not to say that God can't use like a uncle or a grandmother, but you're that person's parent for a reason because you have what it takes to help parent them. So
because they are a part of you.
Yeah, they're a part of you. It's things that my son would do that maybe Stacy may not understand.
But you get it.
But I'm like, ooh, he got that in me. I see that.
That's a trip.
I was just having that conversation with my mom yesterday because we was having a real like heart-to-heart conversation, you know what I'm saying? And she was giving me some scriptures to read and everything. But I had looked at her at some point during the conversation. I was like, what I'm dealing with right now, you ain't never dealt with.
Yeah.
So you're giving me advice based off of your experiences through life, but I was like, I need you to understand you ain't never really
walked this
path that I'm walking right now.
Yeah.
And I was like, unfortunately, the person who has walked the path that I'm walking right now, like our communication ain't there for us to be able to sit down face to face and be like, all right, pops, like
get some wisdom from some experience.
Let me talk to you. You know what I'm saying? Like usually when I talk to my pops about things, it's after I figured it out.
Yeah.
So then we like comparing notes. Like you figured it out, I figured it out. Let's compare notes on to see who you know what I mean. Yeah. But when I'm going through it, he's not much of a help. And I was just telling her yesterday, I was like, keep praying, keep giving me like I appreciate all this wisdom.
Yeah.
But I was like, just understand you ain't walked this particular path.
Yeah.
And when I broke it down like that, she was like, I got you.
But if you know you can't get it from your mom and your dad probably walked that path, why wouldn't you?
Why wait until you figure it out?
Why would you try to figure out yourself instead of talking to your pops?
Well, just in terms of my pops, just we don't communicate well when it comes to things like that, right? Because the one thing that my pops doesn't understand, just from years of just dealing with him, is he understands that we are alike, right? He understands that there's part of him that's just in me, and he's seen that in me since I was a kid, right? But he thinks that I'm just naturally able to overcome those things because I was born in America. So I think he ties a lot of his, issues to him being kind of an immigrant, coming over, having like a rough childhood, where with me, he's like,
you got it.
You got it easy.
Right, like you have all the advantages to you, you know what I'm saying?
You ain't went through nothing.
So he almost be like, I expect you to be able to overcome these things without even having to work towards overcoming them. So it's just a little bit of a barrier there. But yeah, man, I you know what I'm saying? Like, Mom, we was just having that conversation yesterday.
Yeah. Because, I mean, you can, like you said with some of you guys' nephews, a lot of the issues that my dad had that I didn't know, womanizing, hustler, angry, volatile at times. I didn't know who he was, but those things were in me. So there's certain things that, and if you don't have a line of communication with a biological parent, I do believe that that's where God can begin to bring in people who may not be your parents,
but can relate,
because
steer you in the right direction.
That has that similar experience. And I believe some of the best places to find those type of people, in my opinion, is at church. You know what I mean? That's where I got my help from, where now I could look back, I'm like, man, my father, my dad now that raised me is an amazing man. But it took for me to get to this place to appreciate a man like that, because I didn't understand that, you know what I mean? Because him and I are kind of different, but yet God placed him in my life so I can kind of glean from him. So a lot of what he did when I was younger, I'm using that wisdom now. But when I was younger, I needed somebody to kind of help break some things in me that I just had to allow life to break over me.
Hey, I'm laughing because I'm like, hey, Yella break some things in you.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like, I hear y'all talking, and I always tell Tiff, like, I raised my nephews from kindergarten to he's 19 right now, trying to get into the military.
19, 20.
Yeah.
And I always tell Tiff, like, I don't know, I can't read this boy. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what's going. And just hearing you talk made me think of like him. Yeah. Right, that's crazy. Like, I wonder what his dad, like, if his dad been in the corner, I'd be like, that's his dad right there.
Like, probably act exactly
talk to
the
your
same.
son. Like,
we was talking about that today.
For real?
Yeah.
I also thought too, with you working with him, I was like, this probably will be really good for him.
I talked to your gentleman about that.
Oh yeah, like
I was like,
we spent like, I want to say about a good 5 to 6 minutes, just really just kind of just touching the ice of that today, just like the whole pops, and you know what I mean.
He can relate to you because you grew up without a dad.
Yeah.
Like, I grew up with
you
parents.
never met him.
Yeah, he did. So I never knew that, right? And we just, we were just talking about it. I was like, man, there's another you out there. You know what I mean? I was like, you got to know that, like, and I was thinking to myself, like, just in terms of some of the things that we've been talking about, I was like, it's a man out there that probably is exhibiting all of these behaviors that we might be confused about. There's somebody out there that's just doing the exact same thing. And if we only could just reach out and touch him, like, it would help us out so much more. But we just had that convo today.
Sometimes it takes a village, where maybe one person can't relate. I do think there's tools that anybody can learn to help someone who you can naturally relate to, but you can learn to relate to, and create a safe place to where they can be vulnerable.
Right.
I think there's tools.
Can,
you can learn certain practical tools.
Things to a particular person.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, back to your path, man. My bad. We take
detours. Hey, I'm cool with detours, man.
Let's bring it back.
Just work with us.
Just work with us. You know that.
I'm with you. But that's why I brought up I think my behavior as an adult came from my unhealed issues as a child.
Okay.
I think when you heal the boy, the man will show up. So I was making boy decisions as a alleged man because I didn't heal those boyhood issues. So I think a lot of the misbehavior that we see people make as an adults is directly related to things that you didn't heal as a boy.
You didn't heal as a child.
So you know, so for me there was a lot of like, so my detour and all the decisions I made really came from wounds that I didn't really know I had there and didn't address and was left undealt with. So there was this huge wound that I look back of affirmation. I mean, because if you think about it, every human being needs love.
Right.
And love is wrapped in affirmation, validation, also correction, and those different type of things. It comes in. It's not just in one form. It comes in many different forms. But the form that I needed it most was it was okay to be light skinned. It was okay to be who I was. So I got teased a lot. You know what I mean?
Light?
For being light. Yes. Yeah.
Light wasn't
Casper,
I always,
powder.
Listen, though, you
always-
were a little
Hey,
back
like-
in the day, though.
I
You,
never knew light skinned people went through this.
Yeah.
but you were you were a little paler.
Yeah, I mean,
Back
even
then.
now here, even though I'm
I
super good looking, I didn't realize how good looking I was till I accepted, till I embraced
my cousin. They cousin.
Hey, until I got saved, and God was like, according
took
to
your goggles
Psalms, there's a scripture in Psalms I read that it says you're beautifully and wonderfully created. And I embraced that, and I was like, man, I am kind of good looking guy. Good job, Lord, you did a good job on me.
Hey, I always felt like Drake said, like, I'm light skinned, but I'm still a dark. That's how I always felt about you. Like, you a light skinned, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
compared
yeah,
to
I
nice
got
and
you,
dark
yeah.
dude, just wild. And
Yeah,
that's how I always felt about you. Like a
Yeah.
light skinned, dark skinned dude.
but it
People can't be wild.
Nah, it's just the number one, he light skinned and he pretty. But he act like you know what I'm saying? When back in the days he used to act wild. Like it don't
you just it comes off like it forms of it was fake. It was me trying to prove my black masculinity.
I know
Yeah.
a lot of it was studio,
Yeah,
but you know what
yeah.
I'm saying? Like, because I know you, but I know
Yeah.
a lot of
Well,
people
that makes
bought
sense.
into it. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm
Trying to
saying?
prove like
I was
I'm
trying to prove that I was
I'm
black.
A
Man, you know what I mean? So again, that goes back to the love I needed was affirmation. And I think a lot of wounds that grown men have come from like their father wounds. You know, a lot of this is a very fatherless generation, and so where
dudes
there's
have daddy issues too.
where there's fatherlessness, I think
Sure.
Hey, you got me not talking. I'm just looking
Yeah.
at him
Sure.
like he giving a sermon. Like,
yeah.
I have issues.
Preach, brother.
You got daddy issues?
I have issues loving people.
Do you think it's because of your dad?
It's directly related to my dad.
For sure, yeah.
I've-
A lot of
I've
our wounds
always-
come from our
I've
dads.
always known that.
But you know what? To me, dog, like I see what you mean, but I don't know, for some reason I see through that.
What you mean?
Like you could be tough, but I know you hella loving. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
No.
like I
Depends
know,
on who it
like
is.
I don't know if you just accepted, like just said I love this dude, but at the same time, like I feel the
I
love
feel
from
what
you.
you're saying, Ijoma.
Yeah, I mean, like
You're capable of loving because
like,
I know he
yeah,
loves
yeah.
his daughter.
Yeah, like I don't have issues with love, but like being able to be vulnerable
Mm-hmm.
within that love, I have a lot of difficulty. Even with y'all, right? Like y'all have heard me say it before. Like it's certain things that y'all invite me to that I'm like, I can't come to that because I start feeling vulnerable by the fact that I'm spending too much time with y'all family. So I have to say, okay, like Sunday, like, oh, I don't need to be there Sunday. I need to maintain that distance. You know what I mean? Because I can love them, but that extra step of vulnerability, and I know that's directly related to my dad from all those many times where I was just like
Being vulnerable.
open.
Yeah.
I was
Exactly.
about to
And
say,
you got-
so you worried about it not being reciprocated? Like,
It's not even a worry about it. Like I don't even. It's just
Without even thinking.
it's just a natural reaction right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Where-
I mean, because you were being vulnerable with your dad, and your pops didn't validate that vulnerability,
Right,
so
right.
you were trained
yes.
tough
build
up.
that
Like that's
wall.
you weren't trained that I was okay.
Yeah.
It was more so like
Yeah.
you tripping. So then you
Exactly.
carry that in
Exactly.
your connections with anybody else.
So I have to be overly conscious now and tell myself,
it's cool.
hey, bro, you tripping right now. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? I have to push through those barriers
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I definitely agree. You know, niggas be having daddy issues too.
Yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely.
And I think our generation has internalized some of those daddy's issues. I commend our generation because I think we have taken on the challenge of being fathers.
Oh, heck yeah.
Are trying.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
it's coming back
Trying, yeah.
around.
Hey,
Yeah,
It's coming back around.
like
It
we
definitely
really
It's coming back
I'm
around.
seeing more active dads.
Yeah,
I'm seeing dads be more better parents than some moms.
Yeah.
Hey,
Like,
I
I'm
was
like,
talking
okay.
to somebody about that. I'm like, yo, I don't know too many deadbeat dads. I don't know if it's my circle,
Yeah.
but I don't know
I think
too
our
many
generation
dads
took
that
up that
ain't
challenge.
like,
Yeah.
Our
falling
circle
back.
are heavy in their kids.
Yeah.
But I also think because
Is it because Jay-Z made it cool? No, I'm sorry. Jay-Z made being a dad cool. Like,
Hey,
he
man,
talked about it a little bit.
I gotta have a little blue. You know what I'm saying? I gotta be there.
You know, let somebody in culture make it look cool.
Hey,
you
that's
know?
real.
I ain't mad. That's a good. That
Hey,
that
that's
is
what
cool.
it takes
Nah, I
to
feel
get
it.
these.
I feel it.
But you know, you think about it. Moms provide nurturing. They nurture.
It's a balance.
Warmth, and dads, I think the way God created it was that dads help give us the identity, the affirmation. So when we don't get that, we look for it. And, you know, so we look for it in a male figure that we think is like a father figure. So for me growing up, I didn't get my dad, since I didn't see his behavior as that's awesome. Like, you're loving, you're forgiving, that's masculine. I looked at it as weak. I didn't allow his affirmation to be enough. So you know
It's
kinda
crazy.
weak. Like, I'm gonna get this affirmation somewhere else.
You ain't give me what I think I need.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't. That's what being a man is. Like,
Yeah.
gotta
What
get
you
talked to
talking
like
about
that.
dads? Like, I be thinking about what my dad always tell Tiff. Like, you know, my dad was an excellent provider, quiet, and just keep to himself. You could drive to Africa with my dad, and if you don't say nothing, he ain't gonna say nothing. And if you get to say like, "Hey, so what you think?" He's like, "I'm just chilling." Like, he have a whole
Yeah,
conversation
yeah.
with you, but he ain't gonna engage.
Yeah.
And I used to think that was so whack. And I was like, I ain't gonna be nothing
Yeah.
like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm cool off that cat.
Yeah.
Like I love him, but like I don't like the way he act.
Yeah.
Man, now I act just like dude. But I be fighting it like I be fighting that like I'm gonna have a better relationship with my kids.
Yeah.
And that's why I try to make sure I do everything based off my relationship with my kids. I want a better relationship than I had with my dad.
Yeah.
So do that mean I got daddy issues?
But why do you think that you are just like him?
I'm providing wise. Like I feel like my dad, like I got a wife that stay home. Like my life base, like the foundation of it is really like my parents. Like 3 kids, stay at home mom. Dad go out there to bust his butt to do anything to maintain what he got. The only difference is when my dad got home, he was like, "Yo, I'm going to bed."
Yeah,
Like,
he was out.
He
I'm
checked
going
out.
to bed. Yeah, he check out. That's
Yeah.
the difference. He check out. So my goal always is like I'm not checking out.
I don't think that's daddy issues. I think
I don't
that's
think you
you
have
identify what your
either.
dad did good, and you identify where he kind of came up short.
Yeah, but the crazy thing,
Yeah.
like I
don't feel like he came up short.
I don't feel like he came up
Okay.
short.
Because
Okay.
remember
Like,
I said to you that I feel
Where he
like
checked
he
out?
gave you
Oh,
what
that's what
you
she
needed.
said.
Yeah.
Because if you talk to Cole,
Like,
her
she-
experience with her dad would be completely different
that's-
than
yeah,
his,
that's
and
what she said,
probably
yeah.
Danny's.
Yeah.
So I said he gave him what he needed, and he
Yeah.
didn't really. I don't feel he needed or was fiending for more love or more attention. Like, he gave him what he needed.
If you needed it, he would have gave you more.
Possibly.
I think he gave him what he wanted. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, so I don't think you have daddy issues, honey.
I concur with what y'all saying, but like at the same time,
I don't
just
know. Do
think-
you? I mean, do you think you got daddy issues?
I don't think I got daddy issues. I just think it's weird, dog. Like it's kind of weird to explain.
You have your
just-
dad's
I mean,
work
it's-
ethic.
It's okay to critique your parents.
No, I ain't got no problem with
You know
it.
what I'm saying? It sounds like you more like you're critiquing things that you didn't necessarily like and you doing it differently.
Yeah, I didn't like that. I gotta reach out to you to say
Right.
what's up. Like, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? It was like, you good? Like, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm out. Like, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? It's like, dang.
I
like,
definitely think parents, like, we got to stay on the active pursuit of engaging our kids.
exactly. And that's my thing.
Especially today and
Yeah,
age.
and then I mean, I'm a firm proponent, or not firm proponent, a firm believer of that. If you have work a long day, like when you come home, I feel like you can't check out.
You
Like,
can't.
That's
Yeah.
that's another, like,
You got to give it one more.
You got to give it one more go.
Round,
like
no matter how tired
you can't.
you are.
No matter how
like
tired.
I try to, like me and Tiff, like that's like one of the things we try to stay firm to. Like come home, we gonna read together.
Yeah,
we gonna chill, no TV till 7:30.
Yeah,
and then while you eating, while you watching TV, while you eating, that's your TV time. Then it's time to go to bed. So I'm trying to be engaged.
That's super
and
important.
Know my
man.
kids as good as I can.
Right.
Yeah, because you building that you're building a bond with them, and while they're young, and you know that it's the best time to build bonds. Like,
but I feel like that's what my mom did though.
Yeah,
like you know what I'm saying.
It's good. I think, in my opinion, it's good when both parents do it. They both pursue it.
I agree.
And obviously, if one parent is deficient in doing one thing right, other parents step up. But I think at some point, that's where parents got to challenge the other parent. You know what I mean? Like I challenge my wife, like, hey, I kind of feel like DJ getting left out the loop, or she may challenge me like, hey, I feel like you being a little too hard. And I just think that's good spousal support about raising your kids. Yeah,
husband and wife.
But I don't think just because a man provides, not saying you said that at all, but I don't think it's fair just because you provide that gives you a legitimate right to check out.
Yeah, hell no.
Nah,
that was the model.
Yeah,
but that's why I was telling Tiff. I was like, they from that generation.
Yeah,
that was the model.
That's why I was saying,
and
like
his dad, like perspective for some people is like that's
good.
good.
You got everything you need. Like if I say, Dad, I need this. Boom, there you go. Dad, I need bow. Like no problem.
What more do you want from me?
That's how I didn't feel like that's what he was saying, but like that's like anything, Dad, I need to go $20 from me. It's in the cabinet. Go ahead and get it.
Yeah,
like, you know what I'm saying?
I try to approach it like I'm not perfect at it all. Like I think a lot of my father wounds was healed once I got to know God for myself, and that God is always present. Like whenever I need to talk to Him, whenever I need to pray, whenever I need to vent.
What got you to that point?
So what got me to that point was obviously, again, young age dealing with affirmation issues and rejection issues. So living a life of trying to get approved and validated, I got to a place to where, like, as you guys know, 22, 23, where I was just really making a lot of bad decisions. And a lot of my bad decisions was like going into a lot of cycles of defeat. You know what I mean? So winning, looking like I'm winning in one aspect of life, but internally losing in a lot of areas of my life. So although I may feel like I was winning financially in some areas, or winning with like this bad chick in this area, just really not winning internally, not happy with myself. And then from making bad decisions, like the consequences of those decisions, whether it's finding out I got a kid at 19 that's already 3 years old.
You were only 19?
Yeah, like 19. You know what I mean? Like that came from wilding out when I was 16 and 17.
Realize that.
And then like going to jail for wilding out, for making bad decisions, of hustling and trying to shortcut the process.
That I made one time is letting you borrow my chain.
Oh my God.
That was a bad decision.
You know he tells this
Hey, I paid you back though. I paid you back.
You know he tells this
I gave some cash. It was like half cash, half Xbox.
Gosh, he tells
And I gave him more
all the
Xboxes
time.
that was worth more.
I let him borrow a chain, and
I'm
I
sure you've
spent
heard
like
this story already.
$2,500.
It wasn't 2,500.
2,500.
I thought it was like 18.
Okay, let's say 18. 2,500 sound better. Like, you know what I mean? And look, I never used to wear it. He wore it so much that people thought it was his chain. And when I put it on, they be like, oh, you got dang chain on, huh? This man called me April Fools.
Oh, was it April Fools?
April Fools. He called me and
Dang.
said, hey, B, I got in a fight in Frisco and I lost your chain in the middle of the scuffle. I said, all right, man. I hung up on him. He called me back. This ain't April Fools, man. I'm out here right now. I hung up. He called me back. B, for real. But he paid me back, though.
Yeah.
He gave me like 4 Xboxes and...
I gave you like 800 in cash. With like 3 Xboxes or something?
I say that. Yeah, I give you that.
That's
And at the time, Xboxes...
Yeah, I was going to say, he won. Like, I wanted to make sure he won to show him that I was sorry. But he still came out winning.
I wanted the cash. I'm like, I got hella Xboxes. I guess.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You got to sell them half off because ain't nobody going to buy them full price. But, it is what it is.
That's
I just wanted to tell that story.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But yeah, just a series of bad decisions, and I was making decisions where I was like, this ain't really what I want to be, because I always had the conviction of right and wrong, but just kind of ignored it, and it just got to a place to where I realized that I don't need to ignore it. But for me, I needed the consequences to let me know that when you ignore that right and wrong voice, this is what happens.
Hit you right in your butt.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
sit
So
down, think about it.
Yeah.
What's one of the biggest things that got you in the situation you was in?
Scamming, hustling, like, so that, you know, when I got caught up into all that hustling and, you know, credit card stuff, fraud and all that, that led me to kind of spiraling because I was making so much money doing it that where I just was kind of getting sloppy in how I was doing it. But I'm glad I didn't become successful at it, because if I was successful at it, then
You would have went extreme.
I would have went extreme and just been the
Kept
best
going.
version of that I could have been.
And got deeper and
then
deeper.
consequences would have got harder and heavier when I would have got caught, because you eventually gonna get caught. So I was glad I got caught so early, and it was just a ripple effect. I think, you know, finding out I had a son when I was 19, that kind of dealt with my heart a little bit, because I was really contemplating being a deadbeat. Like,
Wait.
Hey, that's a real thought. Hey, I appreciate you telling the truth.
Seriously.
That's a real thought sometimes.
no, let me tell y'all something. Look, hey, you was like 19?
yeah,
Hey, look.
19? I didn't realize he was like that.
And he was coming around with little DJ, right? Looking dead on
I
him.
mean,
like, replica.
Exactly the same face.
yeah.
And I'm like, hey, that's you. Hey, don't say that. We ain't took no test yet.
I was hot.
hey, my
Yeah,
auntie.
your mama getting
My
close.
auntie like, this is my little grandson. He like, Mom, hey, we gotta wait 2 more weeks.
I was in denial. I was hot. My mom.
You seen his face though, right?
To me, I was so much in denial. I was like, this
This
can't
can't be
this
it.
can't be it. Because I was like, I want to preface
looking
this so it
exactly
don't
like
be
your baby
misconstrued.
Yeah.
My son's mom is awesome. She's married, awesome guy. Just we're in a blessed situation. But at that time,
Right.
I knew I wasn't trying to get married. So I was like, I don't, you know, my mind's like,
Yeah.
this ain't somebody I'm going to marry. Like, I wanted to have a kid by the person I was going to marry.
Wants
Like,
no parts of this.
that's where my thought process was. So I was just like, nah, this can't be how I'm gonna have my kid. You know what I mean? So I was in denial, and I just thought about being a deadbeat. But, you know, for
And he
you
was
guys know I
already
have
3.
great parents.
Yeah.
My
They
mom.
wasn't gonna let that
Yeah,
slide.
It wasn't gonna
Yeah,
happen.
they gonna let that-
He
He was gonna be the one looking real crazy because he was gonna be
He was gonna
around.
be every
And
function.
you was gonna be looking crazy.
yeah.
I just ain't gonna show up.
So I think that was a very pivotal moment of me leaning towards, you know, where I'm at now. So kind of finding out he was my son, not having no bond at all. Like, I didn't have no type of love. Like,
You was
it
3.
wasn't there.
Yeah.
Instant dad.
Like,
Oh, wasn't
yeah.
that instant,
3-year-old.
like,
It's
Yeah.
like, this your kid.
I
He
mean, to
3.
be honest, I don't think I even loved myself enough to learn how to love someone
somebody
else.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it just wasn't. I didn't love myself properly because I was doing stupid stuff. So
But
to now bring a
this was like on
kid,
the tail end of it though, wasn't it?
nah.
No, oh, 19. No,
It
you were
was
like,
my. Let's just say my. I was
Never
woke.
mind.
You know what's that term we use?
What?
Woke. My conscience was
Oh,
awoke,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I wasn't living to the highest that I knew it was
Right,
good.
okay.
So I remember praying to God, like, and I ain't talked to God in a long time. Like, me and God, like, I was doing some crazy stuff that I'm like, dang, God ain't trying to talk to me, which is not true. God, no matter what situation you're in, God is always open for a
were you
conversation.
intentionally not trying to talk to him because you know you was doing wrong?
I feel like I was just,
In
my
the
heart
zone.
was so hard. I was so in a sin zone of like running through women, trying to make money, trying to be the man,
Tunnel vision.
trying to live up to the status. You know what I mean? Trying to be this image that I learned through TV and very misogynistic in my views. So I didn't even, God didn't come in. But when I found out I had a kid, it was like a little resuscitation of God came back into my heart. Like, oh, snap. Like, dang.
Right.
Oh, what is he? It's
getting real.
Oh, it's getting real.
Oh, dang.
And that I remember my mom just saying something that just really stuck to me. You won't have a blessed life if you don't take care of your kid. And as small as that is, and to other people that wouldn't hit them, but that penetrated my heart.
That's deep.
I was like, dang, I won't be
Man,
blessed.
turn that into a slogan. Hand it out to all these niggas in the street. You will
Right.
not be blessed if you don't
Yo,
take care of your
yeah,
kid.
yeah.
Right?
Take care of your
It's
seed.
that simple right
Yeah.
there.
So for me, that stuck with me. Like, I was like, man, I don't want to be that dude that won't have a good life. So I just remember like having a convo with God and saying, Lord, I have no love for this kid right now. Like, you gonna have to help me. Like,
Wow.
I'll do everything a dad is supposed to do, but I'm doing it out of like routine.
Right.
And then that's kind of where I realized that I was faithing my way into doing something that I'll explain in a little bit, that I eventually got the love for. So I was just doing what I felt a dad was supposed to do. And I had a great example with the man that my mom married, Lou, which is my dad now, great, phenomenal guy. He gave me a good example. So I just did everything he did for us. And I remember one time where his mom was picking up my son up, and she was like, he stayed the weekend or the week with me, and then he finally was getting picked up. And I remember almost about to cry because I didn't want my son to leave.
Aww.
And I felt in that moment, not that it was an audible voice, but I felt,
I love this little dude.
yeah, well, it was that, but I felt like something said that I answered your prayer. You now have the love a father should have for his son. And that,
You
I was
went
like,
deeper than love.
yeah.
Deeper than my love.
Right.
I love you.
Right.
So that was a moment where I felt like God kind of talked to me, where I was like, oh, he hears my prayers. You know what I mean? In spite of all this crazy stuff I'm doing, he's still
there.
He's still responding to me. Like, he's never not responding to me. This whole notion that I'm so bad that God won't respond to me, that's a lie. God is always there. He was always present. So that was like,
Waiting on you.
yeah, that was a ripple. And then from there, I was like 19. I still was doing my thing, like illegal stuff. And I remember from the time I was 19, I'm going to speed it up. The time I was 19, about 23, I went to jail a couple times. First time I went, did that Hail Mary prayer. God, if you get me out of this,
Yeah.
I'll never do it again.
I'm changed.
Hey, he got me out, and I think it was about a week later. I'm back at it.
Hey, nah, this is what he used to do. He used to be like, he used to come in, he'd be like, I ain't doing that no more. I'm going straight. He'd get a Bible and be like, hey, y'all read up in the Bible and say this. I'd be like, you for real? He like, yeah. And then a week later, he'd be like, hey, but I had to just, say
There was a conflict in my soul. Like, I was like, I was being tugged, and I did that back and forth for a few years, where I was like, I ain't sleeping around with no more. I'm being celibate until I get married. And then I go to the club, and then what's the word we used to use? She choosing. She choosing.
Choosing.
You know, they'll be choosing. I'm like,
I had to.
I'll be like,
So-
you guys are just
Yeah.
gross.
So that happened, and then it was just one last time where I was.
Always the last
Yeah,
time.
it was really the last time where I was doing something illegal, and I got caught, and I knew this was like one that I was gonna go down
This the
for a
big one?
long time. Like, I was like, dang,
You got me.
yeah, they got me on this one.
Got him.
And my prayer in that situation wasn't like, God, get me out of this. It was just like, I surrender, God. Like, I'm tired of this.
It's like,
You know what I
all right,
mean?
What you want
Yeah.
to talk about? What you
Yeah,
got for me?
I'm gonna just sit down, and I'm just going
we
to
are. I
do
got
some
time.
soul reflection. And I remember in that season of my life, I really started reading my word while I was in jail. Never knew when I was gonna be a preacher. That's still not even on my radar. I'm just like, okay, whenever I get out, I can just go be legit in real estate. I can, I've always been a good salesman. And I remember having those thoughts, and then remember meeting up with my lawyer and all that stuff. And I was guilty, so I wasn't trying to hire a lawyer. I was just like, I'm guilty. And I remember they cut out a deal for me to where if I plead guilty, I can do 1 year. And so I was like, cool. So I did that deal, and I'm giving you guys a real short version. I did that deal, and when it came down to like finalizing that deal, the judge was like, you know what? I know we made the deal, but I'm just not sure you learned your lesson. So
Dang. Let me see if I want to make an example out of you or not.
Wait, it's eerie that you telling this, bro. Because I told them when I was in Texas,
yeah,
and I cut my deal.
Yeah.
The judge looked at me and was like, "It's too sweet."
right.
Like,
yes.
it's too
Yeah,
sweet.
like,
That's
nah.
He
so
looked at
crazy
it,
though,
I
how
mean-
they just can hold that.
I was
Yeah.
like, can
I
they do
changed my
that?
mind.
Like, hold
Yes,
up.
they
Bruh,
can.
my
But
butt
just like
cheeks clicked when
that.
he said that to me.
Yes.
I was like,
If you blink the wrong way or look the wrong way, their
was-
life is in your
He was
hands,
just like-
essentially.
And I remember to this day, he was like, "It's too sweet, but if I ever see you
Ooh,
again."
yeah.
Oh, you got a butt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't get a butt.
I got a butt. I got a butt.
I didn't get a butt. So if I didn't plead for the deal, I would have did like 6 years
Wow.
in prison. So the judge says, we're not doing the year. We're going to keep the 6 years going. And I was like,
Did your heart drop?
I was like, what? Like,
Excuse me, say what?
I'm like, what? Because I already had managed my expectation. Like,
For
I
a
can
year,
do a
got your
year
mind right, like,
in
I can
county.
do
I
this.
did county time before.
Hey, they sent you to Quentin first. Remember the first
No,
4 months?
Yeah, but that I was before. This is what happened to lead up to that.
Oh, okay. My
yeah,
bad.
damn, you just messed up the story,
my
bro.
Bad, my bad.
He
My
just
bad. Go ahead.
Hey, I was trying to get.
Yeah.
I was trying to set it up. He jumped the gun.
They didn't hear that.
Nobody heard that.
Scratch that.
We're gonna rewind that.
So I already did some time in county, and you know, sometimes doing time is not good because then you can be like, I got this. So my county time was like, it's not that bad. So if I get caught, I'll do county year. I'm cool. So that was my mentality. Like when I got the deal, I was like, I'll do a year, which is really 9 months. I'm good. Can't hold a good player down. No, I wasn't thinking that. I was like, nah, I'm taking God serious. So the judge was like, I hear the deal. We're going to hold that deal. We're going to keep the 6 years sentence pending over you. And what I mean by pending is we're going to send you to San Quentin for this, like a 90-day observation. And in that observation, we're going to figure out if we want to give you the 6 years or if we're going to consider the
I
year.
didn't know that part.
And I was like,
God.
what? I was looking at my lawyer like, can they do that? And they was like, the judge can do whatever he wants.
He looking at you like, yeah,
So-
just don't say nothing.
Mind you, in this whole process, like I'm really taking God serious. Like I'm going after God, reading my word. And I'm really mad at myself because as I'm reading the word of God in there, I'm realizing that what I thought was a book of rules is really a love letter.
Dog. Hey.
Look.
What?
Hey.
What happened?
Remember,
Hey,
you already
you
know
going
where I'm
back to
going.
that episode that we
Look,
talked about.
like last week or the week before, I
Yeah.
said, look, I was talking about something. I'm gonna speed it up.
Yeah,
though.
yeah. No, go for it.
I'ma
Go for
speed
it.
up. But I told them, I was like, look,
Mind you, he had this epiphany at 38.
it don't matter, dog. Like, hey,
You only 37, honey.
don't give me that year. God gonna come when he gonna come. You know what I'm saying? But I was telling them, I'm like, yo, like I was just saying, like, what would older Brandon say to younger? You know what I mean?
It's a good question.
If my age right now, how would I guide myself?
Yeah.
And then I was just telling them, like I said, I'm speeding up the whole thing. And I was like, and then I realized that's what the Bible is.
Yeah.
He's telling us everything that can go on in this world.
Yeah.
Like if you follow this dude, this will
Yeah.
happen. You follow this dude,
Facts.
this will happen. You follow this dude, this will happen.
Yeah.
Like you said love letter, but it just made me
Yeah.
think of that.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Yeah, no
You know what I'm
worries,
saying?
man. So I remember reading the Bible, which I never really did, and I always looked at it as a book of rules.
Wait, hold on.
But that's
pause.
what you said. When you say you looked at a book of rules, I was
Yeah.
like, man, it's a book of life. Like
Yeah.
it's a book that tells
Wait,
you.
hold on. Are you in Quentin right now?
I'm just speaking of like before I'm going to Quentin, I was
Okay.
reading my word,
Okay,
and I,
okay.
yeah. So
In county.
yeah, in county. So I'm thinking I'm like all right, I'm going after God. So you assume if you're going after God, that type of news ain't gonna happen. you like God gonna give me some mercy and grace. So I just brought that part because I think it's just good because that's a big pivotal part of my transition was me reading the Bible. Like I found God. Some people find God in other ways. I found God by reading the Bible, and I read it. And I began to see that it was actually a love letter from God to his kids. And I began to not look at it as a book to control people. I realized it was a book to show me how to live in freedom and manage my freedom. So although, yes, I have the freedom to have sex before marriage, is that freedom bringing me freedom, which it wasn't. And I realized that God was like, this is what freedom looks like. So some of these guidelines is to protect your freedom. And when you live outside of these guidelines, you start to destroy or deteriorate your freedom. And what looks like freedom sometimes is bondage. And what looks like bondage, sometimes it is freedom. So for me, sex outside of marriage, sleeping with multiple women, that looked like freedom to me. But it was actually bondage disguised as freedom. And then like living a life where like I'm honoring my sexuality by giving it to God and not just giving it away to everyone and giving it to a special person like my wife till I got married, that looked like bondage to some people, but it's actually freedom. So I began to realize that, and why I said all that was I was going after things that I thought would bring me freedom, but it was actually bondage disguised as freedom. So I was chasing what I thought was freedom, but I was falling into bondage because it really wasn't freedom. It was bondage all along. And what I was running away from, which was like things that I learned from my dad, God was showing me that you have freedom all along. You just didn't know it was freedom. And reading the word just kind of tied these experiences with me. Yeah. So I went to San Quentin, and that's when like I felt like I graduated in my Christian levels. Like, you know, if you get special powers, like I feel like you know, I went from level 2 to like level 8.
Yeah, you leveled up.
Yeah, I leveled up.
So Quentin was a little bit different than county.
Oh, it like I'm not putting 2 on the 10. Like it was everything the movie says it is for me in my experience. Like people were getting raped in there. Guys were getting hit with like locks in a sock and their faces being split open. Wow. I was like, dang, this is like and then no judgment, but the homosexual population in there was huge. Oh, really? Like generations before mine's, homosexuality, you know, obviously in prison was a little bit more frowned upon. Right. But since, you know, it's more open in the world, it's even more open in the prison population. Yeah. So it was actually more of it. It was blatant. And then you think about me, I'm light skinned. I've never been a fighter really. I'll fight you. Like, you know, but I'm scared.
Hey, his dad's the dude that took us to the jail, and it scared the heck out of me.
Oh, the scare straight. Yes.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
remember those inmates were like.
I told them the story.
Man.
I told them the story. Dudes flashing us. Like, man,
flashing us because they
come
took
in here, you gonna
pills.
get this.
That stuck with him.
That stuck with me for life.
I forgot that I had that experience till I was in there. Till I was in there.
He had it with me.
It came back. I was like, oh.
He had that with me. I'm like, how did that not get you? Like,
so it was a real.
It was real, and I was approached by a couple people about joining gangs.
Dang.
Like
if you want protection, come be with us.
They didn't say it like that, but it was kind of like. So this is a real life situation. Like I remember the first time I had to take a shower. And I was in a section called Badger. This is a section where like murderers, rapers, and lifers were. So I was like, what am I doing in here?
Right.
Like,
you're in the wrong.
Yeah, I was like,
be an observation.
guard. Hey,
I'm like, what the
like,
heck?
I'm 90 days.
Hey,
I'm 90 days.
I'm not supposed
Put
to be
me in
here.
protective custody. Like, I
put
do
me in
my
a
whole
hole.
time in
Put me in a
PC.
hole.
Put me in a hole.
Solitary.
I was like, should I hit a cop and then get put in hole?
Oh my
I was like,
God.
but then that's gonna mess up my evaluation.
Right.
That'll be 6 years.
That would.
So like, everybody in that like pod like had like 187 tattoos, devil tattoos, and here I am with just 2 tattoos.
Using the belly of the beast.
Hey, you got a cross on your. You got a cross
That cross
tattoo.
must have had some power. I got a
Man.
little rose on my chest and a little cross right here.
Oh man.
Everybody else tatted up. And I promise you, I'm getting looked at like,
Left and
what
right.
are you doing here?
Look like an eyeball.
Like, you got soft skin.
Dang. Hey, you know what's like funny you said that? Hey, look.
I just feel like I'm not.
Hey,
yeah.
hey, nah, look, I remember I visited you in county. I'm like, dude, what's like, you know, none of us been to jail.
Yeah.
Like not even close. I'm like, hey, yo, Diggs, like, what's up with this prison? Like, how is he? Like, man, my face breaking out. That's the first thing he said. Man, my first breaking out. The food ain't good, man. It ain't cool, man. You don't want to come here, B. Hey, we even did the hand thing. I said, hey, before I go, I got.
We did that. We were being dramatic.
I said, before I go, you gotta put your hand up on the glass.
You guys were on the phone with the glass.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
County
yeah,
got to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I said, hey, put your hand on the glass, though. I just want to do it.
Oh my gosh.
So I remember the first time being in there and I'm being put in that situation. It's just crazy stuff happening. Like a lot of people have mental illnesses in there as well.
Yeah.
Like, and those are the people that's crazy and they may not be properly diagnosed, so they might be with normal people.
Right, and shouldn't be.
And shouldn't be. So there's a shower. There's 4 showers. One for the USAs, the whites, the blacks, and others or something like that. And there's like literally like, it looks like 200 people, 4 showers. And then, like, I kid you not, the showers were clogged. So where there was supposed to be a drainage of the water coming off people in the dirt, you know,
Are you standing in it?
It's like this high because it's
Like
drained.
a 2-foot
So
pool?
It's super dark.
Yeah.
And you can either not take a shower and be all the way dirty, or you can take a shower and just have this
Get your
part
ankles
dirty.
dirty.
It's like a
It's
Like
yes.
you step
like
into,
up to your
Yes.
calf.
It's up to your calves.
That's
And then the
better.
bars are not like in San Quentin.
Sanitary.
They're not like windows. It's real bars where you can like sing an old little Negro spiritual song.
Click the cans on it like.
Wait in a clink, clink. So so and it's mold. Everyone's
remember you
catching
saying that,
staph.
It's just unhealthy.
It's
conditions.
super unsanitary. Like, it's just really nasty. So, and I'm a very clean person. So I like, I'm puzzled because I'm like, all right, do they think I'm black? Do they think I'm USA?
Yeah.
Do I think I'm other? I'm Mexican.
Like, where do you
And
fit
I
in?
remember this black dude said, man, get your light-skinned self in the shower. Like, you know where you belong. Like,
You
like,
know
go
what
to the-
doing
go to the
shower
black
and
side.
stuff.
Stop fronting, man.
and I was like, all right. I was like, I hope you don't think I'm his chick. Like, what does that mean? What does that mean? If I listen to him,
Wait, hold
up.
Hey, that'd be me, dude.
What does that mean?
Hey,
If I listen to him, does that mean?
do I say I know? Do I say, like, leave me alone? Like, do
I was
I
like, do I like, I got this?
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
and
how
then,
do I
and then
handle this?
Yeah. So for me, I felt like God was like, you are not going to win this battle doing anything you think you're supposed to do. You're going to win this battle doing it the way I would tell you to do it. Humility, love, honesty. So I didn't go in there trying to act tough.
Right.
I didn't go in there trying to do anything. I went in there really being about God because that's all I had. That's all I knew. And I was like, all right, God, I'm going to try you. I was like, you better keep me good.
Let's see what it do.
Let's see what it do. So I took the shower, and then, you know, it was certain people from gangs. I think it was Black Guerrilla Family. Dude was like, man, when the riots break out, yeah, because it'd be riots in there, and it was just it's crazy. So, and then when there's riots, you would have 510 click up with 415 and 70. Like, you'll have different black gangs join together to be aligned, like, for the black people against all these gangs. Or sometimes it's rivalry within different cities. So he was just like, when you know,
So
when
prisons are very segregated, huh?
yeah, oh heck yeah, heck yeah,
Yeah.
heck yeah, yeah. So, so the guy, several people approached me like, hey man, you know, when it jump off, you better be ready. You know, like, who you rolling with. And I would kind of ignore it and be like, oh, okay, I got you. Like, I would say like that because I didn't know what else to say. And I think month 2 into it, like, a couple people approached me like they, at this point, they see me at like Bible studies. I somehow was displaying that I was, I forget, because it was like 19 years, that I was like who I was, what I was about. And I remember one person in particular was like, man, all that God stuff ain't gonna work when riots is breaking out. Like, you need to like make sure you pick a side. And I remember saying this as clear as day in the most intimidated, scariest way. I'm good. But here was my response after that. So I felt God told me to say something specifically. I said, I'm good. The blood of Jesus will cover me. And he said, that's what I said. He said, what? Because I had just read Psalms 91 in the Bible, and it says that when you abide in the secret place of God, which means like if I make God my dwelling place, if I trust him, he said that he'll keep me safe. So I just read that. So when I read it, I was feeling good. But when I got tested on it, I was like, ooh, it's coming. And I said it, and his face looked bewildered, and he didn't say nothing. He just walked off.
Wow.
He just walked off. And it was several instances where that would happen, and I would just say, the blood of Jesus got me. And it just like looked weird. And I remember reading in my Bible where the Bible says our weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but they're mighty in pulling strongholds. And what that means is the way you fight this world, in this world, is not going to be the way the world, like most people fight in this world. The way you fight is by standing on my word, standing on my promises, standing on what Jesus has already done for you. And Jesus already got my victory. So God was showing me that you're safe in Christ. Claim it ahead of time. So I just started doing that. And I started doing radical stuff like, so when I went to Quentin, when I got arrested, I had like $800 in my I had like $600 or $800. I had the amount to where if I had anything more, it would have went into like evidence or something like that. Right. So I tithe off my commissary. So I took, if I had $600, I forget what I had. I took $60, and I kid you not, I made it known. I don't know what came over me. Who don't got no food in here? Yeah. Right here, folks. Here's a soup. And I did that. And some people try to take advantage of it.
Of course.
But I didn't budge on that. I was like, nah, man, I want to make sure everybody got something to eat. So I was doing stuff like that in prison where I was giving food away and people are like, you going to get robbed that way. And I was like, well, if I get robbed, whatever, like, I'm not worried about that. I was like, I'm just trying to do what God is telling me to do. I felt God was telling me to do stuff like that. Wow. And it was little stuff like that which got certain shot callers' attentions to where they end up befriending me.
And taking care of you.
And I don't know if it could be that they looked out for me or if that was God's way of him protecting me through them.
Right?
Yeah. So
that whole time you was with the murderers and all that junk?
Well, I had like 8 different cellies. So, yeah. So
they be getting rotated?
Yeah, like you get rotated a lot. And so, but every single cellie I had, I told God, if he keep me safe, I'll witness to him. Wow. So I got all my cellies saved. I prayed with all of them. Some of them got cases because San Quentin is also a holding cell. Like not everybody who's there is there permanently. Right. You can go there and then you can get shipped somewhere else. Right. So some people were like, I'll pray for them and their case would get dropped. And I'm like, I'm shocked because I'm like, dang, God is using me. Like, and then this like, this confidence came over me to where I felt confident in him. And like, just that fear broke off of me. And like, I just wasn't afraid anymore. And then I just rested in that confidence until it was like 90 days and my observation wasn't over. I was like, all right, it's 90 days. They didn't come get me. My confidence went away a little bit. They didn't get, I think they got me at like, I lost count, but I think it was like, I was there for like 4.5 months. It felt like, but yeah, so that experience was crazy. I turned that experience into an experience to where I took what the enemy tried to destroy me with and I used it for good. Yeah. And when I say the enemy, I felt like I made bad decisions that put me there. Right. It wasn't the enemy put me there, but I do feel like there was some customized things that came after me that if I didn't have God, it could have got the best of me. Yeah, I could have wavered, but that's why I meant like my extreme behavior helped me in this extreme situation. I went extreme for God, which is what I needed to counteract this situation I was in. So, which led me to the point to where I'm at now. I remember being in jail and I got a dream. Like, I don't know if you guys heard this before, but I shared this testimony before. I got a dream that I was preaching. And I was preaching at my former pastor's church, Pastor Godot's church. Yeah.
His church specifically?
His church specifically.
Have you been there before?
I think I don't know if I've been there before. I think I might have, but I didn't know him. So, like, wow. I had no ties to him. My mom might have. Yeah, my mom might have brought me there a couple times, but I got this dream where I was preaching. And I was like a youth or young adult pastor preaching in there. And in that moment, I asked God, are you calling me to preach? And I felt, he didn't give me no audible yes. I just kind of felt like that's what he wanted me to do. And then I just started preaching in that prison experience. And then come to find out, they finally assessed me. The guy was like, you know what? You're not prison material. I don't even know why they sent you here. I'm going to suspend your 6-year sentence. And we're going to reactivate your 1-year county time. So I did about 4 months there, which then I did like another 5 months at county. But then I had cases pending in San Francisco and Alameda. Wow. So I did something to where you can run them all congruent. Right. And I forget what it was called. So I beat all my cases, Frisco, Oakland. And when I got out, I ran after God. And in Frisco, I was preaching. I started hosting Bible studies. There's people who had HIV in there. People didn't want to mess with them. I embraced them. Obviously, I was making sure they didn't have blood on them or nothing like that.
Right.
I mean, that's just my mentality there.
Hello.
And I turned every experience that I had going to Oakland, Claybank, and San Francisco. I said, I'm about to evangelize and just try to get as many people as possible saved. And I did that. And that was kind of like what catapulted me into realizing that, I've been called to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ, and I embraced that call, and that's where these vows of like I'm not having sex till I get married, and so I went from not knowing how many girls I slept with, being extremely promiscuous, to where when I got out of jail, I didn't have sex until I got married.
How long was that?
That was, so I think I got out at 24, 23. I got married at 26.
Wow.
So I went 2 to 3 years abstinence from any sexual activity. I had some masturbation slip-ups. I know somebody out there is thinking it, but it was like you can count them on one hand in that 3-year span.
On one hand, literally.
And I felt so convicted, yeah. But it was grace because I was striving for that, and then I locked into a rhythm to where I learned how to manage my sex drive. And I learned that, okay, the best way for me to live out this vow that I made to God and my goal of the next woman that I'm going to have sex with will be my wife. I start reading books. I start learning that if I'm going to control my sex drive, I have to give it back to the one who gave it to me. So I surrendered my sex drive back to God. And I was like, God, I ain't asking you to remove it, because I still need it.
Right.
It's still, help me manage it. And that's where I began to learn how to train my mind. And I stopped going to clubs. I wouldn't listen to certain music.
Right.
I wouldn't watch certain movies that would incite those things that were in me. Yeah, I shifted my lifestyle.
You
So
like
how
that?
was
The
your-
Christian Malcolm
Did you-
X.
Did you keep a relationship with DJ while you were in prison?
Talking to the mic.
Yes. Yeah. I did. So DJ visited me.
Oh, he did?
Yes. And I made promises to him that I kept. Like, you would never. San Quentin he couldn't, but like in county he did. I was like, I apologized to him. That's where I apologized for being an immature dad. I was a teenage dad. I did stupid stuff. Man up, stop crying. Like, I didn't allow him to be vulnerable, and I shifted all of that. Like, as I began to learn who God is and how God wants us to be vulnerable. He wants us to bring the things that bothers him, and where fathers didn't let us feel that was comfortable, I realized that was something that God, that's not what he wanted. I began to learn that God is a loving God. He's not trying to condemn us. He's here for us and all that different type of stuff. So got out, went to church, told Pastor Godot my dream, because it was Pastor Godot who had the dream. And he was like, I believe you. Let me train you up. And then I went to his school, and then I ended up going back to school and getting my bachelor's degree in theology, and then I got my master's in counseling. And I ain't looked back since. And life is so much better for me on this end. Like, all that other stuff, the sex, the drugs, the party, it gave me momentarily happiness, satisfaction. But I feel like our hearts is empty, and it's forever wanting. Like, you can get a new car,
Right.
and then a year later you're gonna want a bigger, better new car. You can want this. Once you get that, you're gonna want something else. I feel like our heart is always wanting. It's like infinite in what it wants. So once I realized that God, who has no ending, he's everlasting. He's the Alpha. He's the Omega. He's the beginning and the end. And my heart that always feel like it's always wanting something, I was like, to get this fit of this emptiness, I was like, I think God is the perfect fit. Because if God, there's no end to him, but my heart is always wanting things that once I give it to it, it wants more. You know what I mean? Once I aligned my life up with Jesus, it was like it was a perfect fit. I found peace. I found joy. Didn't mean that I didn't strive for finer things in life, but that wasn't the motivation anymore. You know what I mean? So, and then from there, that's just kind of how I've been living my life. That's how I move now.
How was it in the beginning, like, just with your mindset coming back to, like,
Yeah, because you
us.
didn't have the same friends
Like,
that you
Yeah.
had.
no, but he got the same cousins.
You know you got the
like,
same
you know what I'm
family.
saying? Like,
Yeah.
how was that, like?
I knew that for me, I was willing to be looked as overly spiritual for the sake of protecting this new rhythm that I had, trusting that over time people would understand. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened.
I was finna say that's exactly
Like,
what happened.
Like I knew it. I was like,
Yeah, because
God.
when you first got out, everybody
Man, it
was
was
like,
like-
this ain't going to stick.
Yeah.
You're-
Nah,
you know,
when it
everybody get
first
of
came out, it
prison.
was like, "What's up, Dame? Jesus is good for you today." I'm like, God,
Yeah.
no, Dame, I'm just saying hi.
yeah.
Like, you know what
And
I'm saying?
I had to learn how to
Balance
tone
that
it down and
Yeah.
and balance it and all of that stuff. But for me, I was just like, I'm willing to be stoned for Jesus to heal me. Like if I gotta
Take one for the team.
if I gotta
Right.
take one from outside perspective so that I can be the best version of me, I'm cool with that. And that's what any type of change or transition, like
Dude, remember that one
people
time
come
we
in
went bowling?
seasons. What?
When we went bowling, this was probably like 5 years ago. We went bowling, and I was drinking, and I was like, "Hey, you want some of this?" He was like, "Nah, dog. You know, I'm like, dog, it's just me and you." Come on. Like, you can
Like,
have a
you
drink.
could- you could-
Nah,
Yeah.
I'm like, you can have a drink, man. Ain't nobody around here like even trip me like, nah, I be like, you know what I'm saying? I don't get down like that. I'm like, have a sip. Be the old dang for me. Just
just for me.
just have a sip. He like, nah, but you'll never know who's watching, people around. I preach, and I'm not even about that no more. I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, whatever. Soon as I said whatever, somebody came up and just, hey, Pastor Damien, I just wanted to say I appreciate you preaching. And he looking at me and saying like, okay. Oh yeah, this is my cousin right here. This is Brad. What were you saying?
I
I
do.
just want to say, you remember that?
Yep, I do.
And like, I just want to say, man, I love your preaching and just keep it up. And you done. I was like, I feel like
And
from that point on, like, it just taught me a lesson.
You respected it.
Man, like, that was foul of me to do something like that, to
Right.
even
Yeah.
put him in that position.
Position.
Yeah.
And
And
ever
then-
since then, I was like, I got to respect this dude in this position.
And it's for me, a lot of people don't know. It's not that I don't want to drink sometimes. Like
Yeah.
I actually like drinking, but it pulls something out of me that I need to keep
Inside.
in check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think there's some, for me, like people drink wine. I don't judge that. For some people, they can handle that, but for me, if I open that door, it's hard to come back from that. So I've learned my vices. That drinking, I got to keep that out of my rhythm, because if I even do it in a very social way,
Yeah.
it can open some things in me that I've conquered.
Do preachers drink socially?
I think some preachers, I know some who may like occasionally drink a glass of wine. It's the thing about drinking, it can be a Christian liberty, but there's more scriptures in the Bible speaking against it than there is scriptures saying go for it. Does that make
Like,
sense?
say-
But it's not. Yeah.
Say, okay, let me ask you this. Say if you had a preacher's convention, like just you and a couple other big dogs,
Yeah.
like 7 of y'all,
Yeah.
and they drink, and you like, that ain't no problem, but then they whip out some weed. What would you think? Like, would you
There
still
has to be a purpose.
But you,
Yeah.
no, would you? No, I'm just saying, because
There's not,
my
you
whole
just-
my whole thing is weed is legal.
Yeah.
Weed is
yeah.
alcohol. What's the difference between weed and
Yeah.
alcohol? But like,
It's a substance.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, so for
would
me,
that look frowned upon with a preacher taking it to like what some would think is the next level
Yeah.
versus?
That would be very interesting to see 7 preachers.
I'm just
Break out
saying,
some
like,
weed.
I'm just
Yeah,
saying,
yeah.
like,
Up and lighten
I'm
up.
just saying that got a bond. Like, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
Like,
Ain't legal no more.
like a preacher's not gonna be himself around. I mean, when I say himself,
Yeah.
like, you still gotta.
yeah.
You
image
saying that
I
preachers
think,
can
and then
let
let's
loose?
be
They
realistic.
can
Let's be
let loose, like
I
when they're
would- but look,
amongst each other versus them being.
a sip of wine versus a hit of weed is gonna hit you differently.
Would it?
I would also say, like, you said weed is legal,
Weed is legal.
but
It's legal
when
inside
you a clergy, you not operating by man's laws.
Yeah, it's a
So-
more.
But
Yeah.
what I'm saying, though, if you're gonna take it with the drink, would that be a next level?
So I agree with
Jump.
the doctor here that like it's some things that are legal in man's eyes are not morally right. You know what I mean? So
Is it just because it's acceptable versus something that's not as acceptable?
well, I'm
before?
gonna share the scriptures that guide me from not going there. For me as a man of God, I read scriptures that say, be sober minded. You know what I mean? Don't give place to the devil. I feel like weed and even alcoholic substance, you can't be sober minded.
Yeah.
And for me, a lot of my bad decisions
happened when you were
came
under the influence.
from me under the influence. You know what I mean? Like, so if I identify you as a clergy in my circle and you smoke weed, you're not gonna be in my circle.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna be like, yeah, you tripping. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Let me ask you, man. You know, you was spiritually raised.
Yeah.
Under Godot.
Yeah.
Now you transition.
Yeah.
Like, explain to me how that worked for you.
Yeah. He's still someone who I consider as a spiritual father. So I transition positionally, but relationally, there's not necessarily a transition. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's like if my son, which one day he will leave my house and start his family. You know what I mean? Like, my title as a father doesn't change for him. I've raised him up to do that, to now lead and empower his life to start his family. So my transition with Dr. G is similar to that. Like, he imparted a lot of great things and he instilled some good things. So my transition as an associate pastor at Real Life Church is more so like he honored me. He brought me before the church and was like, this is my son. He's now, God has called him, and he trusts that God called me over there because I identify, like, I believe the Lord is leading me over here. And he embraced that. And he's like, man, you're my son, and I release you to, go do what God is calling you to do. So that's kind of how that transition looked like.
That's what's up.
Yeah, yeah. It was a very healthy transition. And then I also talked to him like 4 or 5 months into like what I was sensing. Like, hey, I kind of feel like my season as a young adult pastor is shifting. You know what I mean? I feel like God has transitioned me to do something different. And I didn't yet know what that was. And then
You just knew it was coming.
I knew it was coming. Like, I've learned that I can just sense when God is up to something. And at that time I was bivocational, meaning I was full-time employee where I was working. I was working for a company called a nonprofit SAC Chinese Community Service Center, where I did like social emotional learning, and I led some after-school programs, and I was volunteering at Calvary. So for me, the transition also included like a full-time salary as well of something that I was believing God for, which I went to school for. So that's also a transition. Like, I think any good parent would like encourage a kid to go after something that's going to be best for them and their family.
I know all about SAC Chinese. I find it amazing that they deal with more black kids than anything.
Yeah.
They call SAC Chinese.
Ain't that crazy?
Yeah,
I think they're rebranding that name to the center now.
Okay.
Yeah.
They be getting all the contracts. I'll be like, man.
How you feel versus like the Steve Harvey dressing preachers versus you?
Are you mean like suit and tie?
Steve Harvey be sharp now though.
No, but you're not a suit and tie kind of dude though. Like,
I have like 7 suits.
Nah, but I'm saying though, but like
7 sharp ones too.
Like,
you're not gonna see Steve Harvey in a baseball cap.
You're not like you
with the
dress hip hop. Like, you dress the culture.
He dressed the culture.
Yeah, like what? Like your fist. Where you get that from? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you ain't lost
That
none
probably
of your
makes
swag.
you a lot of relatable.
Yeah,
to
I'm saying.
people.
So like, how do you feel like what made you feel have the confidence to be you and preach or what you got on to all these people?
Not to be like a button up.
That's a good question.
Yeah, that's not a part of your generation. Like you. What, 33, 34?
35.
Woo,
I know. Just turned 35, bro.
Why it's like you're getting closer to us in age.
I feel it. I'm like
11, November 11th?
Yes.
Dang,
yeah.
God, dog.
Yeah.
Dog.
I know. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how do you feel? Like, what gave you the audacity, you know what I'm saying? To
The
come
freedom.
come in your hat backwards, you know what I'm saying? A fly coat with a
Hey,
chip.
but look what it got on it.
We're going to get into that. We're going to get into that.
You see it?
Yeah, but what with your skinny jeans on, like, what made you feel like I'm going to be me?
Yeah.
And I'm going to preach to this older generation, younger generation.
Yeah.
And I'm going to still push that word.
Yeah. So for me, like, one of the things that I've learned that being right with God is not about how you dressed. Like, you can dress holy, but that doesn't make you holy. You know what I mean? Yeah, like So it's a term that some of you guys may be familiar with, sanctification. Like in Christ, the blood of Jesus sanctifies me. So I am made right and I'm perfect in the image of God through Christ, and my clothes don't change that. So from that freedom, I can wear my hat backwards. I can wear skinny jeans. I can wear a Champion shirt and know that I am right with God and can still preach the unadulterated gospel as someone who has a suit on. I think that's just a preference. Yeah. Now, I'm also aware of environments that I go into. So, like, if I'm preaching at, like, a church like Calvary Christian Center, I'm going to be a little bit more conservative because to relate to that group of people, it may be easier for them to digest the truth that I'll bring.
Right.
If I'm packaging it in a way that they can relate to. I don't want, yeah. But for me, I'm at my most comfortable element dressing how I like to dress, like this. Yeah. You know, so, yeah.
Because I seen you preaching like that.
Yeah.
You know so, yeah, this is him Sunday morning.
This me.
Sunday morning, he dressed like this. I'm like, God, how you pull that off?
And again, that's a lot of people think when you get saved that, you got to change the way you dress. Yeah. You got to, you take what you are and it's just modified in a way to where it's bringing God glory. So if you are a fashion designer in the world, like, and you come in Christ, you can still do that. You're doing that to give God the glory. And you give God the glory not by saying, my fashion is Jesus apparel, which is cool, but you give God the glory by identifying, like, I'm going to do things in excellence. I'm going to have my business in order. I'm going to have integrity. And I learn these principles from God. Like, you begin to identify where you learn these principles from, and you now steward your gift because you know who gave it to you.
Hey, you know what's crazy? Like, you said that with dressing, that's how I used to think about rap music until you introduced me to Mission. Yeah. Like, till then, I was like, this is corny, dog. Like,
I felt the same way until I knew about Lecrae and Andy Mineo.
I'm just saying, but, like, I know Lecrae, but, like, when you first introduced me to somebody that, like, local, he's a Christian rapper, I'm like, okay. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I'll check him out.
And I heard it, I'm like,
he actually kind of dope. Like,
like, but the same mentality I had towards preachers dressing. Like, there's no way you can get on the pulpit with what you got on. Yeah. And get accepted.
Okay, well, speaking about Mission, don't awaken love
too early. Don't rush it.
Speak about that, man. What you got popping off, man? Talk about that. Tell the people.
So, February 15th through 16th, we have a young adult conference called Don't Awaken Love Too Early. And that just kind of came from experience in my life. I awoke in love too early. So for me, I've learned to have a successful relationship, you have to encounter love before you can fall in love. So if I don't encounter love from the one who created it, then how do I know what I am calling love is love, right? You can begin to put what you call love on things that's not love. You can call bondage love. You can call unhealthy attachments love. But when you begin to know what love is, where love comes from, and how to stay connected to the source of love.
Identify it.
Yeah, when you can identify it, and in my opinion, love is a person. Love is Jesus. Jesus is the epitome of what love is. So once I encountered God, I began to know what love was. So when I saw someone like Stacy, I can identify how to grow love, how to cultivate love, because I've encountered love. So Don't Awaken Love Too Early is for, like, all those people like myself who had not so good relationships. Things ended bad. Ended up in heartbreaks, because I think it's easy to give your heart away. It's harder to overcome a broken heart. And just because you have good moments with somebody doesn't mean that they're good for you. Right. And I had a lot of good moments, but they weren't good for me. Yeah. So Don't Awaken Love Too Early is a conference for singles, for people dating, for people engaged, and for married couples. Like, we have a part of the conference where we have some phenomenal speakers. Shout out to Pastor Matt and Pam. I was going to call them Ma'am. It's getting late. I'm combining their names. Pastor Matt and Pam are doing a breakout session on marriage, and we have some phenomenal speakers, Cy Rogers, Ontario Green, myself, Stacy, Becky Johnson. We're all speaking on these matters so that young adults can be equipped to pursue love from destiny and wholeness and not desperation and brokenness. I think a lot of people doing relationships from desperation and brokenness, and the most important decision you'll make outside of giving God your life is the person who you choose to marry. I feel like the person you choose to marry can make or break your destiny if you don't marry right, or they can make it harder to go after. You know what I mean? Because destiny has a rhythm.
Right.
And not everyone can get to destiny because it's not easy. So I've been able to pursue my purpose and destiny because me and my wife have a rhythm together. So if you pick somebody before you got to know who you are, and you pick someone in your pre-know who you are days, and you marry them, and then you figure out who you are, then you can wake up in the marriage realizing that I married someone who, if I knew who I was now, then I would have chose them. Yeah. And then you're living with that conflict. So the conference is helping you
I hope y'all listen to this, because this go back to what I was saying about trust.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So we was having a conversation about trust.
Yeah.
And what I was saying to them was, if I marry somebody at 19, I would tell them, like, I trust you for who you are today to me. But I don't know if I'm going to trust you 10, 15 years from now, because I don't know who you're going to be in 10 or 15 years.
Right.
Because there's a possibility you might change.
Yes.
And so I'm telling you now at 19, I'm giving you my unyielding everything. And then at 34, you on a whole different path. And they was like, nah.
Well, first of all, you didn't say I'm 19.
He tried to clean it up.
No, I did say that.
Never said
I did say that.
Rewind the
Hey,
tape.
we'll go back
You
to the
never
tapes.
said the age.
I did say that.
And all I was saying was, I feel like if you're going into a marriage, not trusting a person.
But that's not.
That's what we are saying. You say you can marry somebody.
But I'm
you don't
saying
trust.
I'm not trusting.
That's what it is.
That's what it said.
You
I
say
said
you can
should
marry
never
somebody that
that
trusts.
you
We're
don't
like,
trust.
why would you marry somebody that trusts? You was like, I trust you now, but I ain't gonna trust you. I'm like, dude,
And I was like,
Yeah, because I'm saying I don't
you
know who
shouldn't
you
be getting
nah,
married.
you see how you try to clean it up? That's two different things.
no,
I
it's the
said
same
if you don't
thing.
trust the person that you're with, you should not be getting married.
No, I'm saying I trust you in that moment. But I can't guarantee that I'm going to trust you in the future, because I don't know how you going to shift and change. And then we use them as an example, but they, I think they are examples of two individuals who were, if not in their purpose, as they've grown together, they've been in the same rhythm. Yeah. So they don't see as big of a differences in the changes because they've been growing together.
Yeah, there's a rhythm. They have some synergy. Yeah.
But everybody don't do that. Some people, you know what I'm saying, go in different directions. So that's all I was saying.
Hey, let me this just something I was thinking about, because a couple episodes we was talking about depression and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And people been going through. How you feel about that?
Like depression?
Yeah, just people be like, man, I'm just got some bad energy. I just ain't been feeling good. Things ain't going my way. Blah blah blah. I just been feeling depressed.
I think.
What would you tell that person, just to sum it up?
I think depression is it can be several things. It can be undealt anger. It can be unfulfilled expectations. Mm-hmm. So, like, it can be clinical. I think for me, I think we all have moments where we can be depressed, but no one has to stay depressed. So I think staying depressed is a choice. Being depressed in moments, that happens to all of us. So for me, I could just speak from my experience. The times where I feel depressed, there's areas where I need to grieve some expectations that didn't happen for me. And if I'm holding on to these expectations and they're constantly not happening, it's making me, the Bible says hope deferred makes the heart sick, which can be depression. So there's a hope that I thought was going to happen, an expected end that didn't happen, and now I'm mad about that. And if you don't deal with that, it can start showing up in depression. And depression can show up in a lot of ways. It can show up in isolation now. Like your behavior can start changing. It can show up in
like a ripple effect.
Yeah, it can show up in extreme behaviors, binging, acting out. You see depression happen a lot in people our age and older that, you know, they're dealing with some internal things. So they're trying to do things that they probably should have dealt with when they were younger, but they're doing it older because there's some internal things that they haven't dealt with yet. Mm-hmm. So that's just to give you a general, it's hard to like give a specific answer to a general statement.
Nah, I get you. Nah, you answered it good.
Yeah.
Hey, I got another question. No, hey, you asked me about that Kevin Hart.
Oh, so the latest with Kevin Hart, he got picked to host the Oscars.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you know, people just won't let you be great, and they want to go pull up your past.
Yeah.
So, tweets that he tweeted like 2009, homophobic tweets.
Yeah.
They surfaced, and then, you know, that whole community went bananas. It was like, we're not going to watch. He needs to apologize and blah, blah, blah. And so Kevin Hart was like, listen, because he's already apologized.
Yeah.
Obviously, this happened in 2009.
Yeah.
And then he was like, I'm going to remove myself from the Oscars and step down because what's happening is bigger than me and I don't want to be a distraction about it or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's what we were talking about. Like, should he be able to still do it? Is it a big deal or?
I don't know. I really don't have an opinion on it, to be honest. Cause I heard about it, but I haven't really thought about it to formulate a concrete.
Do you think the thing is, since he didn't say sorry again, then they don't want to, he stepped down? Do you think he should say sorry again publicly, or just it was cool for him to step down for that? How do you feel about that?
To me personally, I think it's always good to apologize for a wrong.
But what if you
Again
did
and again and again?
Twice?
No, I don't think you got to keep doing it.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
They
I
want him to
think
double
it.
back.
Yeah. But you know what? I'm also the type of person that I would double back. Like just
why not?
Yeah,
If you're sorry, why not?
like if that's going to help someone's healing process,
Give it to him.
I'll give it to him.
That's what I've been thinking about too.
I call it. It can be
It's not
humble.
about you.
It's not. It's an act of humility. However, I'm not going to keep doing that. Like
Right.
if I've done it a
I
couple
done said
times,
sorry twice now.
then it comes to a point where it's like, okay, now there's some things you have to deal with if you
Right.
keep asking me to do it over and over and over again.
So I've been thinking, is there a difference between saying I'm sorry and apologizing?
Well, I think dictionary versions saying I'm sorry has more of a negative connotation to yourself. Does that make
Like
sense?
you're taking ownership.
Well, saying you're sorry, I think what I was taught is better to just say you apologize. Sorry, it's more like I'm sorry, and it means that you're.
You are at fault. Right?
No, I think it's. I looked it up before. I think it means something like. Do we got time to pull it up?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I feel like when you're saying, I don't know. What do you guys think?
I ain't never thought about it.
I'm sorry and I apologize.
Man, I run into a wall, and be like, my bad. Like, you know what I'm saying?
To be honest, subconsciously I use them interchangeably. Like
Yeah.
sometimes I'll say I'm
Hey, you
sorry.
ever bumped into something like that wasn't a person, you said my bad before you looked up?
Oh yeah.
I do that all the time. Like,
My
bump
fault.
into- hey, damn, that's just a basket.
Let me see. Dang, you guys I don't got good
yeah, it's
internet.
all bad
Oh
over
yeah,
here.
don't even try over here. Yeah, you in the twilight
You got
zone.
service over at your house?
Yeah, I was just gonna
I
say
do,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, well, he right by Walmart. You know what I'm saying? They got to make sure.
So to me, I use the word. I try to use apologize because I forgot. I did not a study, but I just looked up the difference. It's a good question. I looked up the difference between sorry and apologizing. Sorry
means feeling distress, especially through sympathy with someone else's misfortune.
does it have any? You know, how it has separate sentences and meanings.
I was sorry to hear about what happened to your family.
Oh yeah, that's not the right. I'm sorry, we're looking.
In a poor or pitiful state or condition. That's the second one.
Yeah,
He
so-
looks a sorry sight with his broken jaw.
So for me, sometimes the way sorry is used is like I'm not in a poor, pitiful state. So I'll use the word I apologize.
Apologize. Express regret for something that one has done wrong.
Yeah.
So apologize is like
Sometimes it seems a more suitable than.
apologizing. I must apologize for disturbing you like this.
I can't even remember the last time I said
I
apologize
apologize.
or I'm sorry. But what I'll
Mine.
but what I'll say
different,
is I'll say I'm wrong. I'd be like, hey, I was wrong on this.
So you apologize.
Yeah,
Like I'm not saying.
What's
I
the
can't
word?
remember
That's
last
like a
time.
nuance.
Yeah,
You know what?
I'm just saying I can't remember the last time I like actually said like.
Hey, it said apology is a formal admission of wrongdoing. I'm sorry
Yeah, that's
is
what I just
usually
said.
seen. You said that? You
What
read
did,
the
what
same
did it
thing?
say about I'm
Basically.
sorry?
I'm sorry is usually seen as being a true admission of regret.
I'm sorry you feel that way.
Cool.
Right?
Yep. Sure.
You don't get it.
All right.
There's a subtle difference between saying I'm sorry and I apologize. An apology is a formal admission of wrongdoing. It may or may not be heartfelt. Example, a person may apologize without feeling remorse. On the other hand, saying I am sorry is usually seen as being a truer admission of
What
regret.
made you ask that?
Well, because we're talking about Kevin Hart apologizing again, saying sorry.
Okay.
But that had just been on my mind, like sorry or apologize if it's different.
With Kevin Hart though, I don't even think the objective is for him to apologize. I think the objective was to humiliate
Get the black
him.
man out.
Yeah, well, I don't even think it's just a black man thing. I think it's just people in this day and age look to humiliate other people. And I think that's really what it was, right? Like, and humiliate by exerting their power over you.
Mm-hmm.
So to be able to say, like, I can make you move in
Say
whatever
sorry.
way I want you to move, you know what I mean? And in this case, I'm going to make you say sorry for something, you know what I'm saying? Even if you've already said sorry for it before.
Say
so
it again.
It's not a process, because I'm with you. If it's a process of helping somebody heal,
Then that's it.
I'm with that.
I'll do it again.
You know what
but
I
if
mean?
it's
But I
not
think
that,
he perceived it as this ain't about helping somebody heal as
This
much
is
as it's about like
a power
Y'all
move.
trying to-
Yeah, I
So
got
you
you.
somebody
don't
trying
think
to-
it has nothing to do with race?
I don't think everything at the end of the day, I think, has something to do with race. But I think that there are examples of white and black men who this is happening to. I think more than anything, it has something to do with sexuality, where like if you are someone who is heterosexual, you have a certain amount of fame and power, economic power and otherwise, that, you know, when you get in positions like that, like I'm not going to be surprised if the next person that they put up, if they got some dirt in their past, that it get brought up, because people is just getting taken down left and right anyway.
Yeah.
Do you think the next person that happened to, say if it's a white guy and he said, I'm sorry, they're going to bring back up Kevin Hart, like he couldn't do this, but this dude did. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I use him as an example.
I mean, yeah,
That's
no.
going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, no, man.
It's going to make him
I
look
really
like the
don't
bad
think
guy.
Kevin Hart cares.
I don't think he care either.
I think he will only care if his next movie or his next whatever
Which comes out January 11th, by the way, and I kind
doesn't
of want
do
to
well.
see it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's like more of a serious role.
Is
Not
it-
a serious role, but it's.
It's the guy with the wheelchair. He's in a
Did
wheelchair.
you see the
yeah,
preview?
I saw the preview.
I just saw the preview today, and I kind of want to see it.
Oh.
Me personally, like his movies have not been as funny.
Yo.
Well, because he acts the same in every single
Like,
movie.
no,
You right here with it.
I'm
Like, you
just-
know what to expect going in.
Like I'm like,
He
I hate to
dang.
acts
say that.
the same in every single
Yeah.
movie. But
Every
this
movie.
movie is not a comedy, so that's why
Yeah, we
I want
shall
to
see.
see it.
It'd be a good change of pace for him.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
This is
it's
something he's
dope.
never done
It's dope.
before.
Yeah.
So that's why I guess I'm looking forward to seeing it, because I've never done it before.
Well, y'all ain't got any more questions for Pastor Giacchino?
Nah, man.
What do people call you?
Yeah. Hey,
Dame.
hey.
Pastor Dame.
I'm finna
You don't
say.
think people put respect on your
I was
name?
just finna say, man, I apologize if I was calling
Nah,
you Dame.
I feel like I know who I am, so it doesn't bother me whether somebody calls me Pastor Dame or
Yeah.
Dame.
When you introduce yourself to people, what you say?
Damien.
Hey, you know-
Even if I do it like a little church video, hey,
Hey,
this
what,
is Damien.
what
you know he a
DJ's
doctor?
friends call you?
I think they just call me Damien.
Really?
What?
Yeah.
Nah, you gotta
See,
stop that.
we've been going back and forth
Yeah,
with this because,
hold on,
like,
it's
I feel like I'm
generational.
kind of young, right? So I
Yeah.
kind of feel like I can't be called Mrs. Johnson because that's just like
You let his
too
friends
old.
call you Dame?
But I feel like I can't let my kids' friends call me by my first
like
name.
you're not my peer.
Like
Yeah.
you're not my friend.
So the way I look at, to me, I think there's other ways you can show me that you're not my peer, and it for me, title of calling me Mr. or Pastor Dame is not that way. Like you can show me you're not my peer in other ways. By the way, you respect me in terms of.
Isn't that a form of respect?
I think that breaks
It
down
does.
the wall.
For me, it don't bother me that much.
It bothers me.
Stacy let them call her Stacy.
Well, so realistically, his friends don't come over our house like that.
Isn't that so strange that these kids really don't do that?
Weird.
Like
Well, you guys know that we're in a blended family, so if they would come over, it'd be on a Saturday or Sunday. But he's with his other family on Saturdays and Sundays, so
okay.
that But when I've hung out with his friends, I think they've called me Mr. Damien, sometimes Damien. It don't bother me.
I'll check him, Mr. Brandon.
Ijoma, what's your daughter's friends calling you?
They call me Ijoma.
Well, Bella called you Ijoma.
Yeah, I don't like the whole.
Man, it's just weird to me.
I don't like.
I don't even like.
I think that goes.
Mr. Brandon.
I think that goes along with like suits and dressing how you want to dress. It's just
I feel like
it's
a
a
power
perception.
thing. I mean,
See,
and
I look at it as a respect thing.
I look at it
the
like-
same reason why
That's why some people want you.
The
You
same
know,
reason
some people.
why our
Vicky-
kids call you Uncle Dame.
Yeah,
You
like,
ain't
it's
think
like-
Uncle, but they not about to call you Dame.
Yeah, it's just weird to have
But
my
see,
kids
I
come
think
up-
that's different.
but see,
Why?
Why? How is that any different?
You are their cousin.
You my
Whoa,
kid's cousin.
that okay. I see what
I'm
you're
talking
saying.
about all of our
Okay.
kids in the family call
Whoa.
all of our generation auntie or uncle. Like
I see what you're saying.
That's like little Marvin and MJ coming up to you like, dang.
Yeah. I wouldn't trip.
Well, damn.
But I also feel like if you want to show me respect, then the first time you meet me, you'll be like Mister.
But some people ain't got that though.
And
That's
if
where you train them.
they don't, I don't trip. Like I work with kids all the time. So when I work with kids, like one thing that I've learned, especially with working with young black males, is when you come in there to a 14, 15, 16-year-old and you like Mr. Ijoma,
Yeah, they gonna
like
turn-
you've
you
already
lost respect.
built a wall between you and them.
Right? With Sac
You know what I
Chinese,
mean?
same
So-
thing. Yeah.
Okay, so in that case, I feel what you're saying.
get
That's
that,
different.
yeah.
But I'm talking about like
Respectable
in your
little
home,
kids.
personal
But I
space.
get that, but
So
I'm
when
just
you're
saying, like,
teaching, they call you Ijoma when you're teaching too.
yeah, like that's just how I roll, just in general. Because for me, it's like, what's in a title?
Hey, you know he a real doctor.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, his brother been saying some educated stuff, the economic status, and he's a smart guy. So some people would say, like you guys asked, like, how do you feel so comfortable dressing how you dress? Some people think it's disrespectful not to wear a suit. So I think we all have our versions of what respect and disrespect
Right.
looks like. For me, calling me Mr. or Pastor is not one way I feel disrespected.
Yeah, you only got to call me Mr. or Doctor if I feel coming into the situation that you're going to be disrespectful. At that point, before you even get it out, I'm saying, no, it's
Right.
Doctor.
Let's get this right.
Yeah,
right
like
now.
let me,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Because I'm already sensing that it's gonna be some
Yeah.
disrespect that's happening. But if it ain't none of that, yeah.
But
Everywhere
I do make, like, my son will call my pastor Pastor Dean. He will use Mr. and Mrs. I teach him that, but I just feel like
But like, why?
But why do you teach them that?
I teach him that because I just think it's good to lead with that, like for him to start off at that.
I'm cool with that.
But
Like,
I don't-
lead with
I
that,
don't
and then
demand it.
when
Yeah.
somebody lets you, hey, drop that.
Yeah.
But you set the standard, like.
Yeah. But I'm just saying I don't demand that from people who are not like my kid or somebody that I would like, you know what I mean? Like,
It's a protection mechanism.
somebody new, like because I'm with
Protection of
Ajoma.
what?
Like, I went to school and I didn't tell those kids you have to call me this. You know what I mean? I feel like they respected me in their own
But
ways.
y'all coming from a different position of like reaching out to kids and getting them
got you.
to buy
But
in.
growing up in school,
No,
it
I'm
was
saying like
always
y'all,
Mr. or Mrs.
but
at
both of
school,
them
our
are coming from a
teachers.
buy-in position, not like just random.
For me, it's not even a buy-in position. For me, it's just that in my interactions with adults throughout my life, I feel like when they are insistent upon those titles, majority of the time, those are the people that get hung up on power. So the Mr., the Doctor, the Esquire, the whatever it is that you trying to get me to call you before I say your name, that's your way of exerting some type of power or superiority over me.
I ain't mad at the mister. I agree with you. That's why these kids don't call me Mr. Brandon.
Right.
So you know what I'm saying? Like,
So
you know,
I mean, so there is a respect thing there, but it's almost like in that Mr., you are acknowledging that I am in some respect superior than you. And that's the reason why I don't use, because I don't want nobody to ever feel like, oh, he thinks he's superior to me, or to feel like, oh, I'm inferior to him as it relates to this title that I have to. So I can see like
when I'm an adult.
yeah.
huh?
Are you a kid and I'm an adult?
That's how I look at
But
it.
see
That's
that. But see,
simple.
for me, that's the thing. Is like, why is there a difference in respect between me and a child?
I'm not saying I can't respect a child, but you're a child.
Right,
I'm a grown person.
I'm okay with a child saying Ijoma. Like it like to me, it like if a child says, or like when Bella be like, "Hi Ijoma," I'll be like, "Hey Bella," like it don't.
He gonna be like, it's Dr.
It don't make me feel no type of way.
She tossed back and forth between Mr. Ijoma and Ijoma. I just think it's funny when she called you Ijoma.
But when the boys always call me,
They call you Mr.
Mister, and I always notice it, and it always makes
Now,
me cringe.
if the adult be like, it's cool, you don't got to call
Yeah,
me
then
that.
roll
You
with
can
it.
call me Ijoma.
I
That's
roll with
different.
it because I know how y'all raised them. So I respect that. But every time they be like, Mister, I be like, man, get out of here.
Say
with
that then. Like, that's your job and your position as an adult to be like, Jesse Jump.
But
Yeah.
that's but like I said, I think it's a safety thing or a protection thing, because especially for a young black child, when you go into a situation with other adults, they already thinking we coming in wild and disrespectful. So you lead with the sir, the ma'am, the Mr., the Mrs., because it inserts a level of respect or a level of home training that I think a lot of folks just automatically feel like we don't necessarily come into situations with.
Yeah. I've been in environments, like even in church settings, where I'll go in a more contemporary setting. They don't call pastors pastors. They call pastors by their first name, but they're super respectful kids. Mm-hmm. And I've gone in more urban settings where, you see the kids calling them bishop and mister. I think it's good to be flexible. Like, if you need to insert that, go for it. But in some settings, I don't feel like
I
it's
believe
needed.
it depends on the setting.
Like at school, I may, depending on the type of kids I'm dealing with, I may say, call me Mr. Damien. But if they feel comfortable to call me Damien and they show me they respect me by when I'm going over the lesson and they're following along, they're not talking during class, I like that form of respect more so than calling me Mr. or whatever. So I set out, like when I led my classes, I set out other guidelines to where you can show me you respect me apart from just the name aspect.
Right.
I would also tell my kids to know their audience. So
Yeah.
That's really
Yeah.
what it boiled down to.
When I worked
that's
in
what everybody's
Vallejo,
saying.
I think you're fluent with it.
when I worked with Vallejo, I would always allow the kids to call me Ijoma. But I was like, if these people walk into our space, you need to switch to Mr. Ijoma, because when they walk into the space, if they don't hear the Mr., like, it's going to throw them off. They not going to understand what we doing in this space because that's where they coming from.
Yeah.
So if the principal walk in the room, it got to be Mr., because if the principal, if the principal don't hear that, he might be like, what's going on
here?
Like,
Wait,
you
wait,
two,
wait,
you know what I
wait.
mean?
Hold on, what's
we
going
shutting
on
this
here?
down, so you know what I'm saying. But anyway,
Yeah.
Hey, one more thing, man. Tell people where they can get tickets to
Oh yeah.
Don't
Awaken Love.
Yes.
What number is this? Like, what
This is so it's year 7, but it's conference number 3. So the first 4 years were just kind of like more one-day events,
Okay.
and it evolved. God blessed it, and we
use this your
yeah.
baby, right?
Yeah,
He
it's
got
my
merch.
baby. I got
Merch.
merch. Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Albums.
He got a.
You know?
First of all, Ijoma, did you know we was in a music video?
Oh
I
yeah,
didn't
y'all
know
was
that.
in it. That's
I
right.
didn't know that. Okay.
He was my drummer.
Right.
Oh, man.
Get on
This
that.
is really turning
Hey,
into some step
yeah.
brothers. Y'all like worldwide
B was
premiere.
my drummer.
Check it out. Don't Awaken Love. We in
yeah.
there.
But
That
you
was
can
so
you,
much fun.
You can get tickets Dalte DALTE conference.com. So yeah, tickets on sale. You can get both albums on iTunes. Volume 1, Don't Awaken Love Too Early, and then Volume 2 is just Delta. So yeah.
And
Working
Sunday morning.
Sunday
Saints,
morning, you
working
can
the
come
Saints
check us
time.
out at Real Life Church in the Thomas, where we do life real. No, I'm just like,
I like that.
real, son.
I like that.
Come as you is, son.
Is you preaching every Sunday?
No. We have a phenomenal senior pastor, Pastor Dean, great communicator. So him, myself, and a few other pastors, it's like a teaching team. So
You make the right
rotate.
move?
Huh?
You make the right move?
In terms of what?
Go in there?
You gotta say yeah. That's where you at.
Yeah, I think both moves were good. Like being at Calvary for 11 years, without that, I wouldn't be where I'm at.
Where you're at
this.
now.
Yeah, so both are great seasons. So I'm enjoying this season and love that season equally. But they both are providing different nutrients that I need for my destiny.
And
So
what's your name on IG so people look you up?
D
No, we got
Giacchino.
listeners now.
Yeah. So
You know what I'm saying?
well, I'm gonna tell by the listeners, see how many people
Hey,
follow me
I don't know if
afterwards.
they I don't know if they
I know.
feeling you. But we
Nah, I got
popping
you.
lightweight.
Yeah. D Giacchino. So it's DGIACCHINO.
We're gonna have all this in
Yeah.
the description to
Oh,
sell
okay.
folks out.
Yeah.
All right, for
So
Sure. Well, thank you so much.
Man, for real.
Hey, guess what?
what?
This is episode 20.
Oh,
Hey,
episode,
yeah.
20 deep
Yeah,
up
we
in this.
Dang.
20 deep.
Yes.
That's what's up. Are y'all gonna do like a anniversary party at some point?
Man,
We're
we
thinking
been
about it
totally
for a
planning
year.
it.
20,
Yeah.
like how many months? Like
No,
what's-
at a
Nah,
year.
at a year.
We've been
Okay.
talking
If we
about
did
it.
something, we would do something.
is this
at a year.
podcast 20 or week 20?
This is
This is episode
podcast
20.
20 and week 20.
Oh,
So
so
we
you got
doing
you
one.
like it
Yeah.
is.
Consecutive
Oh, that's what's up,
20
y'all.
Yeah.
in a row.
Well,
Yeah.
technically,
Consistent.
we took a week
Y'all
off.
Yeah, no.
professionals.
Yeah,
Yes.
we- nah, we
We're
took-
consistent.
We took a week off there, but you know what I'm
It
saying?
about killed him that week off we
It
took.
did.
Yeah.
It did.
He had a lot to talk about though.
Nah,
Once
I
you got
just
back
like,
up.
I just like doing this. I just like
It's fun,
talking
yeah.
and just
You guys are
chilling.
doing a good job.
But yeah, once we get a year, once we get close to that year,
Yeah.
we'll have a
Figure out what we
celebration,
gonna do.
man. Because
I'm gonna
it's
put
really
on
been
my, party hat and put
a
together
labor of
something.
love.
Yeah, we got a couple of things up our sleeves we want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once again, man, thank you for coming
Oh,
out.
thank you for
Appreciate
having me.
man.
Honored. Loved it. Had fun.
I'm pretty sure we're gonna get a lot of hits on this one.
Man, I think this might be the first cuss-free podcast you've done.
For you, yeah. I mean, you dropped a couple of Negroes in there.
Saying,
Yeah.
I be saying, I got my auntie listening to this. I'm like,
Yeah,
no, I
yeah.
ain't going there.
Yeah.
But yeah, you dropped a couple of N-bombs, but hey.
But nigga ain't a bad word.
hey, depend on the audience, depend on the crowd.
Mr. Mrs., you know,
Yeah,
it just
Miss-
depends.
That's a good one.
I know your audience, you know, just
Touche.
That's a
people
good one.
don't say that in front of preachers, but you know you do.
Oh,
What you do,
man.
that's what you do.
That's what you do. That's how you was raised.
Yeah, all right. Whatever.
All right, y'all, we out. Peace.
Yeah, holla.
Peace.